What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise live here on a Saturday night. The Blazers get absolutely crushed by the Toronto Raptors, 123-105 in Portland, losing their third game out of 5 on the 6-game homestand. Tough loss tonight. We're going to get into what went wrong tonight, and we're going to get into narratives tonight, and we're going to get pretty feisty tonight, I think. So, if you like the chilled, laid-back streams, this might not be the stream for you. We'll get into why in a second. First off, let's thank good old BetOnline. Use that promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus over on BetOnline. You can get into parlays, NFL games tomorrow, picks against the spread, live betting, all sorts of fun stuff so you guys can enjoy sports and have fun. And, maybe get 50% rewards if you use that promo code. Thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring
Bet against
us.
the Blazers.
Bet against the freaking Trailblazers. Whatever you guys want to do. Just use that promo code and use BetOnline. Okay, Eric. So, I feel like I should preface this. Like, if people aren't into us talking about other people's narratives, then this might not be the post-game show for them. If people don't like when we get feisty, this probably isn't the post-game show for them. If they like that stuff, then they're going to love this stream, I think, because I got a lot to get into. First off, I'll just kind of give you the floor. How's it going? Are you doing okay after this one?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just getting really irritated with these games where we have 2 days off and the other team played a tough game last night and we just come out like we've been playing for 10 straight days. I'm just so sick of hearing the other team was just more aggressive and more physical and they just wanted it more and they just brought it and they took it to us and we didn't respond. I can't wait. We definitely have to listen to Chauncey tonight because we'll have to count the freaking cliches from this one. But down 2 starters and
that hurt us tonight big time.
Yeah, down 2 starters. You got to play with some energy and effort, man. It was 27-12 in the freaking rebounds at halftime. That's pathetic. An
Eric,
NBA team should not ever be that out-rebounded in a freaking game.
Yeah, well, the stats at halftime were staggering. The Raptors at halftime had 42 points in the paint and 9 offensive rebounds. 42 points in the paint, 9 offensive rebounds. We had 44 points in total at halftime. They almost outscored us just with their paint points alone in the first half, which is extremely hard to do. And, what was the difference in the paint tonight? That I've been trying to explain all season long to people that don't want to listen and want to clutch on to the narrative that they like to have instead of realizing really what's going on with this team. Drew Eubanks freaking sucks. It's just played simple. This was maybe the worst game I've seen out of anybody all year long, especially in that first half. Like, I don't know if there is, outside of the block shot he had, which ended up being a bucket because he screwed up later in the possession, I don't know if he did a single thing right the first half on the defensive side of the ball. We couldn't rebound. We couldn't defend anything in the paint. And would you look at that? Oh, it's when Drew Eubanks starts. That's what everybody's been asking for. Not everybody. That's what a lot of people have been asking for, Eric. How many times have we had to hear Drew Eubanks is better than Yusuf Nurkic? Drew Eubanks should be the starting center. Drew Eubanks this. Drew Eubanks great. At least he plays with energy. At least blah, 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 blah. All these narratives to disparage Yusuf Nurkic that hype up Drew Eubanks. And then he comes in and was absolutely atrocious in the first half. And showcased literally everything that makes Yusuf Nurkic a better center than him. All the little things that people don't see, I'm hoping that they were able to notice them missing tonight, such as good screen sending, giving guards space coming off of screens, being in the right position defensively, getting a freaking defensive rebound. Getting a freaking offensive rebound. We got out-rebounded on the offensive glass 15-3. We actually had a higher expected, or a higher, we were actually more efficient than them tonight. According to EFG, effective field goal percentage. I was blanking on the name of that. We were more efficient than them tonight in terms of effective field goal percentage. But they got 12 extra shots because we couldn't rebound the ball at all. They out-rebounded us 45-27. In total, it was a little better the second half, but they still had 68 points in the paint, but 42 in the first half. We just got absolutely abused in the first half with them just driving right to the rim. This is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. So you know that they're going to be attacking the rim. And, yeah, we got absolutely steamrolled. Precious Achiuwa has 27 points. We can get into specific plays with Eubanks, but oh my goodness, if people don't realize some of the problems that he has as a center, I know he's the backup, this and that, but so many people have been saying he should be starting. Well, they got their wish tonight, and it was an absolute travesty. That dude was terrible.
I don't think it matters, Tori, because we are never going to do anything, especially against bigger teams, when our biggest defenders are constantly on the perimeter and Ant and Dame are having to guard guys in the post and be our rim protectors. I don't know what Chauncey's doing. If he doesn't fix this soon, I think he deserves to be fired, Tori. He cannot get away with doing this game after game. And people are just going to say, see, this isn't working. New coach, like, nothing's happening. But, like, if he continues to put our smallest defenders in the paint guarding the basket while Jeremy Grant and Eubanks and Nas are out top guarding perimeter guards against a team like Toronto, where we have Jeremy Grant to guard players like Siakam and Barnes and stuff, and we put him on Fred VanVleet? Are you kidding me? He didn't even score in the first half. No one cared. And then when he takes over, he just, like, bullies everyone, including Grant. Like, it's dumb, man. Who cares? David Miller says the problem is players get around our guards. They get around every player on our team. There's not a single player on our team, including Gary Payton, who doesn't get blown by opposing defenses because we don't do anything on screens. We come out with the laziest game plans. It's always conservative. It's always, let's just stand back and let the teams do whatever the heck they want to us, and nothing ever happens. We have the same damn game plan every single game. When is Chauncey going to frickin' wake up and look at the Dallas games and look what happened when we came out with an aggressive defensive game plan and things got done and this team was focused and ready to go from the beginning because they knew they had to be aggressive from the beginning of the game. When you come out with these dumbass game plans, what happens is you become lazy on defense, and even effort guys like Eubanks are out of position then because no one else is in the right position. And then like we're slow on offense. We don't have any energy because we're getting scored on every freaking time down the court. And then like we miss some shots, some easy shots, and then all of a sudden the roof's caving. We're down 15-4 or whatever the frick it is, and like 37-14, and we're just like take ourselves out of the games, man. What happened to that toughness? What happened to scrapping? What happened to being a team? Chauncey said we do not want teams to play us. We want them to be scared of us. Like, we don't care if we win a championship, but we're going to be that team you do not want to play. Bullcrap, Chauncey. Every team wants to play us because we're freaking Swiss cheese and your game plans suck. So step it up or do something about it, man.
Yeah. Granted, our two toughest starters were not in this game. I think that had an impact on that. Because
but every game, Tori.
I know, but it was even worse tonight because, like, Jeremy Grant doesn't get contested rebounds, and it drives me freaking crazy. His effort on the glass is so bad, and I don't talk about it much because it was like that's what I was expecting. It is what it is, but like Josh Hart helps makes up for it. Without Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant's lack of rebounding is even more of a problem in the starting lineup. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I haven't been completely on the get rid of Hart or bring Hart off the bench train like everyone else. Okay, is because we need that dude's rebound in the starting lineup. The thing is, we especially needed it tonight when you didn't have Yusuf Nurkic in the starting lineup. You had Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks and Jeremy Grant is probably as soft of a starting 4-5 matchup as you could find. Jeremy Grant can score and drives hard and like can protect the rim a little bit, but what's like the toughest thing to do? Be physical on the interior. He got bodied a couple times by Precious Achiuwa, okay? He's not getting contested rebounds. He's not doing tough guy things. He doesn't do tough guy things. He's really good, but he doesn't do tough guy things. Drew Eubanks, for as much energy as he brings, isn't strong and isn't smart. And obviously, like, this game was more than Drew Eubanks, and I'm going to focus on him mostly because of narratives. But, yeah. I mean, we got to stop coming out of games and getting punked. A lot of people blamed two specific guys for that, though, Eric. And that was Josh Hart and Yusuf Nurkic. Tonight, we were even worse at the start of this game without those two guys. And that, to me, just shows that, yeah, it's not A, just that like some people try to make it out to be. But B, maybe it's not them at all. Sometimes Nurkic comes out of games and struggles to start games. But his struggles are usually obvious, and that's why he gets a lot of heat. He'll miss 3 layups at the rim, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, Nurk's the kind of guy who thrives off of like being aggressive on defense. He's talked about it numerous times, especially when Stotts was here, right? He wants to play aggressive defense. And when you basically we've been having him in drop coverage for the last month or two, right? So like that leads to my point. Like we're just we come out flat because we're not aggressive at all. And it's hard to come out and stomp on some team when you're just sitting back and letting them get whatever shot they want. And it's the same whether we have Eubanks' energy out there or Nurk standing in the lane waiting for a person to come downhill at him. It just like we have no kind of flow to a game. It seems like we're unprepared every time we step on the court, and then we get it together. We play fast and we start playing up tempo. We started attacking the basket. We got back into the game doing that. It was working, and then we just go away from that too, and then Chauncey subs out the lineup that got us back into the game, and they immediately go on like a 9-0 run and put the game back away, and it's super frustrating.
It is frustrating, and I agree with your points. This isn't a disagreement at all. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of expanding on different parts of the problem tonight. So don't get me wrong. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. At the same time, yeah, because like what I'm about to say is going to sound like a disagreement, but it's not. At the same time, I don't think Chauncey trusts Drew Eubanks to know where to be on a more aggressive scheme. And I don't think you can.
Okay, but can you trust him on the scheme we ran tonight?
You can't trust him at all, is my point.
The whole
I'm not,
point,
see, you're taking it as a disagreement. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying in general, you can't trust him. I don't think Chauncey trusts him.
Let me ask a question. Okay. What's one of the reasons why people who like Eubanks more than Nurk, what's one of the reasons?
His quote-unquote energy.
Energy, right? And what else? He's more mobile than Nurk, right?
Yep.
So, like, wouldn't that mean, if that's true, you should be, like, more aggressive with him, like, on the perimeter and on screens and stuff? Like, he'd be more mobile to like, get back on his guy and hedge and recover and stuff like that? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. Like,
yeah,
like,
you would... Eric,
we try to run him in the we try to play him the same way we play Nurkic, and he's terrible at that. Like, at least do what he's good at, you know?
But he hedges too long. He stays way too long. And here's the problem with Toronto is, you know that they, like, mix up who's the ball handler all the time. So it's like, it's not always going to be him being the one who's screened and off the ball. Like, yes, he can make up ground and block a shot, but, like, in this game, he was constantly in the wrong position no matter what the situation.
I know. I'm getting pictures ready. That's why I'm kind of doing something else right now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, like, I'm not disagreeing with you. Yes, we should be more aggressive because it's just a mindset and it helps offensively. And they got more aggressive in the second half, but the thing is they went small and it worked. He should have went to that earlier in the first half. And he should have benched Drew Eubanks a lot quicker. He should have been ready to pull the plug on Eubanks earlier and then not sub him back in the game. Like, we had to go small. And the thing is, here's the thing. Like, matchup-wise, Eric, Toronto starts Siakam at center. It's not like this isn't a team you can't go small against, right? Like, they don't have a center.
Well, they start Precious at center, but yeah.
Or they start Precious because OG was out, but still, like, Precious isn't a normal center, right? He's more of a 4. He's a power forward. So you can go small against this team, and instead we're playing a big dude who plays like he's a freaking 6'5" guard when he's not blocking shots. He didn't rebound, he didn't box out, he was constantly in the wrong position. He was either over chasing blocks he had no chance at, or he wasn't even trying to contest shots on the interior. Like, he made the wrong decision on when to help or when to not help almost every time down the floor. And that's like the little things that I talk about with Yusuf Nurkic being good at that goes unnoticed. Nurkic knows when to help, when not to help, when to be in position. Just a lot of solid stuff like that. But people don't see that stuff. And people see Eubanks flying across the court for a block shot once or twice a game, and it's like, oh my goodness, look at that. That's awesome. Nurkic can't do that. That's what we need. So that's the thing is against this Toronto team that, you know, Scotty Barnes will handle the ball in pick and rolls, Siakam will handle the ball in pick and rolls, Van Vliet, of course, even Trent a little bit occasionally. Like, I don't know, man. You can't trust this dude to be in the right spot or play the gaps on the backside of the defense based on everything what I've said all year. He still should have done it because we got cooked regardless. So I agree with you. But you can't trust this. You can't trust your Eubanks.
I mean, you got to come up with some sort of creative play. Like, we know he gets out of position. The coaching staff is aware of it. Like, you can't just then throw him in the game and have him be out of position every play, giving up easy lay-ins. I'd much rather him overhedge on a pick and give up a lay-in that way because we trapped the ball versus him just leaving his guy for no reason in the middle of the paint and getting a layup that way, which I'll show you guys in a minute.
Yeah. I guess I can save more of the criticism for when you have the plays ready. Okay, we'll save it for that. But like, I wasn't going into this game picking on Drew. I actually thought Drew, the last 3 games, was having his best stretch in terms of being in the right position more often than not. And I was hoping he was turning a corner, Eric. Like, and I've sat here on the postgame show and said, Drew Eubanks has actually played well lately. I just tweeted it out. Drew Eubanks is actually having a good game. Drew Eubanks, I like what he's doing. I'm not looking to come out here and criticize him, okay? I'm not looking to have some sort of vendetta against him. I will gladly tell you guys when I think he's playing well and is in the right position. But like, if you watch that game and you don't notice how out of position he constantly is and how unimpactful his rim protection and defense is when he's not blocking shots, and how bad he is on the boards. If you watch that entire game and don't notice that stuff and how bad that was compared to what we normally have from Nurkic, then I don't know what to tell you, because there could not be a more perfect example. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I mean, we talked about this all off season. This was going to be our undoing if Nurk ever needed to miss a game. We had Drew as our only backup center. Trendon's a little undersized for the center spot, and he's not great at rebounding either. And he's not been good on defense this year either. And so, like, that was ultimately going to be the question. When Nurk misses games, how does this team get any sort of production out of their bigs? And, I mean, yeah, you can bash Nurk all you want, but he is the best option we have by far, and yeah, unfortunately, we really missed him tonight. And yeah, I don't know what would have happened if we would have had him play, but
he probably would have punished them and had a 20-point game. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely would have,
because they're small.
Led us in rebounding, but
yeah. But yeah, and then Cody, I mean, that's par for the course. And I mean, that his last play of this game, Eric, he got subbed out very quickly after being put back in the fourth quarter. Even Chauncey had it with him. Gets put back in the game, comes in. has a play where he's stuck with the ball up top. I don't know if that was necessarily his fault. Like, guys got a back cut there, but I feel like if Nurkic had the ball, guys would back cut because they trust his passing from that spot a little bit more. Where with Drew, he like turns his back to the rim and it's like, we got to go get the ball because he's stuck. But then after that play is behind Pascal Siakam, who's pulling a mid-range jumper and just like lazily slaps at his shooting arm and fouls him. Nurkic gets heat all the time for quote-unquote stupid fouls or bad fouls. There was that one, and there I think that I don't remember his other couple fouls, but that wasn't the first time I felt like that tonight. I'll have to go look back, but that was a terrible foul. So yeah, I just wanted to get this off my chest because it's been a narrative all season long, and I care about narratives, and I try and show or tell people little things that like Yusuf Nurkic does that get underappreciated because for some reason this fan base hates him when they shouldn't. Okay, and I think today was a perfect example of us missing that. So, if people don't see it, people don't see it. But that's why I'm talking a lot about it. We'll move on, or we'll do the plays. Up to you, Eric. I'm kind of, took over the start of this stream because I had to rant about this.
Well, okay, so a lot of people are saying it's not Drew's fault or whatever because he shouldn't be the backup, and that's true. But I mean, I guess I have to remember that not everyone is on social media, but like this has literally been all a lot of Blazer fans have been talking about is how we're better off without Nurkic and Eubanks should be starting at center and he's better than Nurk and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So here's the deal. Like, I don't see any of those people criticizing Cronin. So the problem is they're making Nurk to be the problem, not the fact that Cronin both re-signed Nurk when he could have maybe gone a different direction this summer, and two, he's the one who thought it was good to have just Nurk and Eubanks as our backups, and not a single person on Twitter. I mean, I shouldn't say not a single person.
Our community criticized it, but
the part of the Blazers side that's been very pro Eubanks, anti Nurk, they all basically think Eubanks should be starting, not Cronin's at fault for putting Eubanks in. No, it's like the opposite. Like they think Eubanks is better and like our best option and stuff. So that doesn't make any sense. And now I'm hearing like bless Calabro, but it's getting really annoying watching the broadcast and him now making excuses about the roster and they just don't have the length to compete with teams like the Raptors and stuff like that. He mentioned that like 5 times tonight. Like, the length. Portland's going to address that soon, but they can't right now. But like, I know it's their job, but it's like, it's just like, I don't know.
The thing is, people will parrot that opinion.
That's not like Lamar actually did a really good job at the end of this game, I thought, of not sugarcoating it. He said, I'd like someone to ask the players tonight what I was saying at the beginning of this thread. Like, I wish someone would ask the players why you continue to have these problems at the start when you had 2 days off and they were playing a tough game last night. It's not just people saying that because of the broadcast. Like Calabro's done a great job, I think, this year of, I mean, yeah, he has to polish a turd sometimes, but like, I think he's done a pretty good job of keeping it relatively, like he'll give some criticisms or some areas of improvement and also a little bit of praise as well, which like that's how you should play it, I think. I'm just saying, like, it just drives me crazy when like people excuse like lack of effort and things that are controllable by just things that are like size of the roster and things like that. When Toronto, it's not like they have like Joel Embiid or Jokic or something, and we can't contend with them because like, and then honestly, it's like, okay, so they're long, right? They have a lot of like forwards that are lengthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we guarding with Ant and Dame then? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we have our forwards on them? Then, like, don't complain about our length and then not put our length on their length. Have our length on their small guys. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? So, like, that's my problem with bringing up length constantly as the excuse is we're not even using the length we do have in a positive way, right?
We're neutralizing our length, and we don't have much.
We're literally taking our most lengthy forward, our pretty much only lengthy forward, and putting him on the smallest guy on the other team every freaking game. I am so sick of that, man. I'm tired of it, and then I'm tired of the excuses that come along with it, like, oh, it's how Dame and Ant suck. Did you see how easily they all scored? Well, what do you expect? Like, they're supposed to guard Siakam like 2 feet away from the basket? Like what? Like,
yeah.
Like,
you know what's even worse
about
dumb
basketball, man.
You know what's even worse? There was an offensive rebound. I think it was in the fourth quarter, but I think it was Precious that got it, and Dame was on him. I don't know if that was the matchup or if they got switched because they were like auto switching way too much too in this game. And Dame's trying his best to box out the bigger player. Like, there's nothing more Dame could have done. He tried to box him out. He's battling down there. The bigger player goes up over his back, gets a rebound. You know what really pissed me off about that? Is right behind Precious is Jeremy Grant standing at the 3-point line. I watched this play back. The shot goes up, and Jeremy Grant just, like, watches the ball turn and, like, takes maybe a step towards the rim, but just, like, watches it go off the rim. And then it goes his way because he's right behind Precious. But Jeremy Grant isn't there to help out Dame. Dame's sitting there battling on the interior. You got Jeremy Grant on the perimeter. And he basically, if he actually tried to rebound, as in when the shot goes up, find a body or realize, oh, look, our freaking point guard's trying to box out their big man, go help him. Hustle down and rebound.
We had so many of those plays tonight
but
where
Grant just watches. Yeah, but Grant, like, that's why he's always been such a terrible defender. Or not a terrible defender, a terrible rebounder. Because he doesn't try. So many times he doesn't box out, but then it really pisses me off when you got your guard battling a big, trying to box him out, and Jeremy Grant's just standing there on the perimeter, not setting himself up to help out with the board, when it's been a problem all game long. It's just lazy. And that's what I was talking about with, like, people questioning me when they're, I brought up recently, like, would it surprise you if Grant dove on the floor? He's kind of lackadaisical. And then the next 2 games, he dove on the floor both games. Like, twice in both games. So, he'll make effort plays. It's not that he's, like, lazy all the time or anything. Just on rebounds, he doesn't freaking try. And it makes no sense. He's 6'8", 6'9", athletic, long arms. Go get a freaking rebound.
He does actually get rebounds sometimes against Toronto. Like, I think did he lead our team in rebounds tonight?
Actually, this might be his best rebounding game of the season. Yeah, 41 minutes, 8 rebounds. That's because literally nobody else could rebound. So, props, 8 rebounds. You know what's sad is when our power forward plays 41 minutes, it's like, oh my goodness, he had a great rebounding night for himself. He had 8 rebounds. Scotty Barnes had 10, Achua had 13. Those guys had 7 offensive rebounds apiece. Fred VanVleet, 5'11", listed as 6'1". Fred VanVleet had 3 offensive rebounds.
Including so yes, one where he drove in on us, like, pumped us with a push-off, and then missed his shot and got the rebound within 3 guys and laid it back up. Yeah.
Grant's 8 rebounds tonight is like the perfect example of like opportunistic rebounding. Like, oh, the ball's going right at me and nobody's next to me. Like, his 8 rebounds, I bet you I could have gotten all 8 of those rebounds. Because the only time he rebounds the ball is when he's standing there and the ball comes right to him. And there's nobody battling with him for it. He might have gotten 1 or 2 tough ones tonight, but that's why you can't just look at rebounding numbers and that he had 8 rebounds. How many offensive rebounds did he give up? Or how many offensive rebounds did he not hustle to try and help with? That's what I care about. And there was way too many of those tonight. And that play with Dame on a interior big man, it's like, to your point, Eric, if you're going to put Jeremy Grant on a guard and him play on a perimeter and you get your guards stuck on the baseline, like trying to defend bigs and then having to box him out, that lengthy guy that you put on the guard and Jeremy Grant has to be hustling to help out rebounding. He has to hustle from the 3-point line down into the paint to help those guards rebound against bigger players. And he doesn't do that. So it makes even less sense to put him up against guards.
Can't wait to show you these. This is gonna tie into that too. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, if they're ready, we can.
I have the first 3 up.
Okay.
They're all pretty short.
I'd love to tie them in. Yeah. Do you have the one ready with that ties into this?
I don't know. There's so many examples that I think we just play them in order.
Okay. Cool.
Show them in order. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Chat, do you want us to talk about anything else before we get into Brandt's breakdown, or do you want to just go straight into the plays? Because I'm sure you guys are dying to see these plays. Let me thank the donos, and then we'll see about it.
Good idea.
Shout out Shaggy Squid, $2 Australian dono. Drew Eubanks and Trent Watford aren't NBA players, to be honest. Thank you, Shaggy Squid. Yeah, Watford is just not good. Watford is like... He's like a you said that. You said it during the game. Eric said in the GC, Trent Watford is a Swiss Army knife that's bad at everything.
I mean, that's a little harsh, but yeah, like, unfortunately, I don't think he's got like a skill that sets him apart on any one thing, because his defense is below average, his rebounding is below average. I guess he can kind of handle the ball for a big man. That's probably his best attribute. His little push shot's okay. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's hard to come up with things that make him playable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Suns Valley Podcast says, aren't y'all about to extend Grant with a bag? Yep, and you have to if you're us. And I'm not saying they shouldn't keep him or anything. Like, almost every NBA player has their weaknesses that'll drive you crazy, right? That's the one that drives me crazy with Grant, is his lack of freaking rebounding.
But we knew that. That's one of the reasons why we didn't want them to give up a ton to get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a weakness of his, Like, Mikal Bridges has his weaknesses, but he's great at some things. That's why he's paid $20 million a year, and he's worth it, right? DeAndre Ayton's being paid a max, and he does some things that I know drive Suns fans crazy. Now, is he worth a max? No, I don't think so, but that's the thing, is every player has their weaknesses and still gets paid for their strengths. That's really what you get paid for in the NBA, is what you're good at. And Grant, is a really good offensive player, so he's going to get a bag because of that, and it's justified. But the rebounding drives me freaking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, I still think he's worth keeping long term and can be an integral part of a championship team. You just have to address that with other positions, and so that's something you always have to be aware of, and that's why I was never in favor of trading for Miles Turner, because of his lack of rebounding. I just think that would have been a disaster with those two. So despite how good they are individually, I don't think that's a good pairing. Yeah. But I still think long term, if you're talking about Ant, Dame, Grant as your top 3 players, if you have the right complementary pieces around them, the right shooting and the right defenders, which is one of the things Gary is supposed to do, and it's still frustrating that he can't play more than 12 minutes in a game. Because, I mean, we cut it to 4. It would have been nice to have him, being able to close out a game and have some defense on the court too. Maybe create a turnover or something. Yeah. But unfortunately, he can only play like a few minutes in the second or first, into first, beginning of second, and then into the third, beginning of fourth, and has to sub out. So.
Yeah, I mean, also this might have been his worst defensive game of the season. But the thing is like, this was a bad defensive game for him. But I'm not really sure what he did specifically wrong. It's just he got scored on. And sometimes you get scored on, and it's still good defense. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, that's the thing. You just got, he gave up a couple drives and stuff.
We had several of those where we forced like Siakam or Barnes into a really tough shot in the or in the post, and I mean they made them. As there's nothing you can do about that. I don't think that's bad defense either. But
you just gotta play good defense consistently, because it'll minimize their chances of making those shots. They'll still make some, but it'll minimize their chances. You gotta control what you can control.
There was one where I think it was Barnes had Nas in the post, and he turned middle and had like a left hand hook over him, but Nas like jumped and contested it. Like he just made the shot. Like I think you got to live with that kind of stuff. It's the wide open shots or the dump off passes or the offensive rebounds with no bigs around the basket to rebound. That's always rough to me. Or not getting back on defense and allowing a kick out 3-point shot because you're walking up the court and stuff like that. So those kind of things bug me more than if you're in a guy's face and he hits a shot.
Yep. Shout out to Dennis Fan. $2 Dono says, what is the move with Grant and Nurk? Keep or trade? I don't think trading Nurk's going to make any sense whatsoever. I don't think you're going to be able to get a better center than him. And if you do, you'd have to give up assets and or pay him. I mean, just look at the bag that Miles Turner got today. And then Grant, I mean, you don't trade Grant. That's the type of forward we needed for the longest time. And given how little we gave up to get him, I don't know how much we could get. Probably a lot more, but still, it's going to be tough. And with him being a free agent, his value is minimized. And I think he wants to stay here because he wanted to come here. And you probably don't want to trade him because he wanted to come here, and you don't want to set that precedent that players that want to come here of that caliber are going to get traded randomly half a season later. So, yeah, I think you keep both these guys for sure.
Yeah, and really there's Keith Smith had his updated projections for teams that with cap space this summer. And they're all teams, for the most part, that make no sense for Jeremy Grant. And now the Lakers could renounce like half their roster, including Rui, who they just got, and maybe have enough to offer him like $30 million at the most. But they'd have to let go of like 8 players or something.
Yeah, and it makes more
like
sense
that.
Just to keep Rui at that point.
Right. So I don't know if that's something they'll look into. I mean, they could always try to sign him and then wait to renounce those guys, but then they might sign elsewhere, so you never know. But yeah, I think that's like the one team I could see him maybe leaving for. But honestly, I don't think he's the kind of guy who's just like gives up on situations. Like he wanted to come here. I don't think he's sitting there thinking, oh man, this place sucks, I don't want to be here. I think he's like, I want to figure it out with Dame and be here longer. But yeah, I mean, I wish he would just sign the extension and then we don't have to worry about this. And that's, I think, a fair contract for him. But after seeing, team like Indiana pay Miles Turner today, like I think he's got to be sitting there thinking, I definitely deserve at least a 5th year on a similar contract.
Yep. All right. Shout out to Brian Tadovich, $2 dono says, I want a good draft pick. Wish we could tank. Thank you, Brian, for the $2 dono. Here's the thing that people are forgetting with the whole let's tank talk. If we tank, then next season we still can't trade future firsts. This offseason, next season, we still can't trade future firsts. If we make the playoffs and our 2023 first conveys to Chicago, then we have all our future firsts again. So that's a big part of that. Is like, it's not that bad to lose our pick. Sure, I'd love Wembanyama or a couple of the guys at the top of this draft, but even if we tank, even if we tried to tank the rest of the year, we're still probably getting what? The 8th pick, the 9th pick. Is that going to be a guy that's ready to help us? And that could be a dude that doesn't even pan out. Who knows?
Well, to be fair, we could trade that pick. Like, we could have traded the 7th pick this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. But
And in this
I mean,
draft, that might have a
here's the
little more
thing:
value
is
than
like, what's the player on the market right now we supposedly want? OG Anunoby. What's his price? Supposedly 3 future firsts. What were they asking for him when we had the 7th pick? They were asking for the 7th pick, Josh Hart, and another first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. If we're gonna trade it, I think it's better to just have future firsts. You could trade more first round picks that way.
Well, if they do end up moving like Hart and getting like a respectable player back and a first, I don't know if you necessarily go to Chicago right away, but in that scenario you're talking about, then I think you free up your picks in the future. Like, let's say we traded him to New York and got the Dallas pick, and it ends up being like 20th. I think we trade that so to get our pick back maybe at the draft. I don't think we have to worry about it right now, but yeah, I think because then if it conveys, we'd have an extra first on top of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to tank, guys. Can we please stop talking about tanking? Because the organization isn't going to do it. It's not even something that, like, makes a ton of sense right now. This team is still 2 games back in the loss column of 5th. Like, this team, would you guys be surprised if they went on a run after the All-Star break? That's what this team always seems to do. Obviously, they have other areas to address. I'd rather just, okay, let's try and address those other areas, see if we can go on a run. If we end up with losing in the play-in and end up with a lottery pick anyway, okay, cool. Is it really going to be that much? Yeah, is it? Yeah, shoot, we could still end up with the 12th or 13th seed and still have the 10th pick or the 9th pick. Shoot, we could try and play out the season, and compared to tanking, I'm not sure if the picks will end up being all that different. So that's the thing, is just this team needs to try and improve the roster at the deadline without sacrificing too much of the future, unless it's a no-brainer, right? Like OG Anunoby would be great. And then, they need to upgrade the backup center position. They need to upgrade the bench. Like, try and do that. And that's really the only thing I think this team will try and do. I don't see them doing anything else. And at that point, like, that's what I'm going to talk about, too, trade-wise, in the next 2 weeks, is those types of trades that go along with that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not like last year where they're going to trade with the offseason and next year in mind for the most part. They're going to still give this chance, the team, the best chance to win. But, like, this is why I was pro-tank last year for sure. I'm pro-tank in most situations. And we were so happy, the Thunder come back and beat us with the miracle comeback, Isaiah Roby, right? We're all celebrating that we lost that game, even though we had like a big lead in the fourth quarter, Yeah. And what happened in the lottery? The team that was 7th moved up to 4th, and we were 6th and moved down, right? So, it doesn't really matter, right? So, like, if we wouldn't have lost so many games and we were 7th, we would have moved up to 4th and had like a much bigger like trade piece, or could have like that's Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, whatever, or we maybe could have moved up from 4 or something with some of our assets, but instead we're the team that moved down, so like we got like downgraded from winning or losing an extra game or 2 than the Kings did, even though we're the whole end of that season we were like, yes, we moved past the Kings. No, don't. Like, the Kings won't win. Like, what's going on, So, like, if it's going to happen, it's just going to – I think this year it's just going to have to be organically. And like Tori said, we might be bad enough to be that range anyway. And maybe we get lucky in the lottery by playing hard. And after not many – I think the Kings were the only team that moved up last year. At least behind us, like maybe next year it'll be a little crazier with the lottery. You never know what's going to happen. So, I just think they're going to play it out. And if they keep losing games, they're going to be higher up in the lottery anyway.
Yeah. Basically, when people say, wish we could tank, I take it as like, this team is too hard to root for right now. Please give me a reason to not want to root for them to win. Like, you know what I mean? It's basically just it's basically just waving the white flag as a fan. Like, I can't handle rooting for this team to win anymore because it's too much. You know, it's too much. Which I understand, but also like it's basketball. It's entertainment, man. This post-game show's supposed to be entertainment. We talk about entertainment. Like, just don't take it that hard. Like, I'll get frustrated. I understand getting frustrated, but man, that's what this post-game show's here for, to vent and whatnot. I don't want to wave the white flag on the season and trying to win games right now. Like, we faced a team that attacks the rim relentlessly, and we're missing our best defensive center and our best rebounder. Like, we missed Josh Hart and Yusuf Nurkic tonight. If we had both those guys, I feel like there's a chance we could have won. This team isn't on the downswing right now. They won 2 in a row. Nas has been playing good, was good on both sides of the floor. Shaedon Sharpe got a haircut, and it turned him into a better defender today for some reason. Best defensive game of the entire season, of his entire career today. Yes. Like, he's going to continue to get better, right? We're healthier than we've been. Trade deadline coming up. A couple potential moves could take this team. If it makes this team only a couple games better, that's the difference between 5th and 13th right now. Like, why don't we just have that in mind and just, yes, we lost, it sucks, but, I mean, we're missing 2 starters tonight. And I'll get frustrated in how we lose, but long term, I don't understand changing the vision from just the trade deadline, like, let's see what we can do, you know? So there's a difference between analyzing an individual game and, like, a long-term thought.
I agree with DJ Vega, like, unless one of the main guys gets hurt, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. I just don't see how this team's going to pull the shoot like they did last year. So there's, I mean, you can hope for it all you want, but like I said, maybe they'll just lose games because they suck. But yeah, I don't think they're going to purposely lose them like last season.
Yep. If Dame was a fan of this team, what would Dame do? Anyway, shout out to Liam Best, $2 Australian dono. It's 3 hashtags, and the hashtags say play Baji, play Baji, play Baji.
Baji's hurt right now, so
yeah, and
I mean, he should have suited up tonight. Hopefully, like if he was healthy, maybe even throw him in there when our centers get like Watford and Eubanks are getting destroyed in the first half. Like maybe you just try him and like throw him out to the wolves. Right? What's the worst that can happen? Unfortunately, even tonight when we're missing 3 players from injury and Greg Brown's still the G League. We had an open active roster spot for him. We still didn't activate him. So I just think anyone who thinks Baji's going to contribute, I think it's pretty clear that they're telling us that he's not ready to play NBA basketball right now.
Yep. Anyway, time for breakdowns. Let's do it.
Yep. And then when we come back to trade talk later, I do want to talk about something.
Okay. That sounds ominous. Anyway. There's play number 1.
All right, so there's just a bunch of quick hitters. So what went wrong for us today? I'm gonna be so disgusted with this.
I'm screwing my screen if that helps you out.
Yeah.
If it's big enough.
Yeah. So here we go. It's very early in this game. Scores 2-1. We have a situation where Anthony's playing defense on Scotty Barnes, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to post him up because look, we have Nas and Jeremy up top on Fred VanVleet, and Nas is going to get switched on to Gary Trent here after he goes through this. And so I don't know why we don't have our small guys up top and our forwards down low, but that's another story, I guess. So yeah, we have this situation where Ant's actually going to do about as good of a job as you can standing up Barnes here. And I mean, honestly, Barnes has been a lot better over the past few weeks, but I still think you live with him shooting like a turnaround shot over Ant versus whatever else happens here. So as we go to the next slide, we see Eubanks just standing in the middle. He has no idea at this point where his guy is. He commits to helping on Barnes, even though Anthony never lost being in front of him, and Barnes had no shot really other than to shoot a 12-foot jump shot over the top of Anthony, which is exactly what the first time we played Toronto when we had Nurk on Barnes, and Nurk literally just turned around and let Barnes try to shoot at the beginning of the game. That was our strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So instead, Eubanks thinks he needs to double team Barnes for some reason, and Barnes is a good passer. Precious in the dunker spot, easily catches this dump pass and gets an easy basket because Eubanks just took himself out of the play.
Yep. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about.
So, next play, Tori.
Is it in a different file?
Yeah, so okay. There's 5 different ones, but
all right, 5 different files. But got you. I will load it.
Yeah.
My file organization needs to be better, is what it is. Because okay, there, 2. Okay, cool. Hit that download sound. Oh, didn't even play the download sound. All right, what we got?
All right, so this next play is the next possession down. So I think Grant misses a lay-in here.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so it's 4-on-3. You can't see the guy in the corner. But notice we have Eubanks lollygagging up the court. Grant isn't even, I don't even think he's like bothered even starting to come back at this point. But he's off the screen. And so we have a case where, as we go to the next slide, we'll see that I think that's I forgot who that was. Someone drives baseline. I think it's Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to kick it out into the shooter. Okay, there's Eubanks. He just, we have 3 guys down, right, in the paint here. Eubanks just runs to the middle of the paint instead of guarding one of the shooters out top. So we have a case where the 3 players that were back all condense into the paint, and then Barnes is going to kick it to the corner, and I think that's going to end up being Fred VanVleet in the corner, who's just going to swing it to Gary Trent. And what do you know? Eubanks just ran to nowhere and then isn't in position to contest this shot wide open 3 by Gary Trent because, I mean, I don't know. Like, what is he doing?
This is the first, 2? This is 2 out of the first 3 possessions?
What was the point of running to the middle of the key? You're not going to rebound anyway because your rebounding sucks. What? I don't get it. And then here's Trent about to shoot a 3, and Jeremy hadn't even crossed half court yet, so I don't know what the heck he's doing. But just really frustrating.
Yeah.
And then let's go to the very next play.
Wait, is this literally the next play?
Well, look at the scoreboard.
I mean, it sounds right, dude. I was losing my mind at the start of this game with what he was doing.
Trent hits the 3, so it's 7-1. Yep, they come down, right? So here we have this play. This is by far my favorite Eubanks moment of the if I had a picture to encapsulate Eubanks in one picture, it's coming up here in a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Grant's gonna get. We actually have Grant in the post on this play. Yay! It's better, right? Yep. Cool. And then so in the next slide, the guy's gonna spin baseline on Grant.
Yeah.
And Grant does a bad job of giving him baseline, but Eubanks. Okay, look right here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Eubanks is under the basket on the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ball is being dunked right now, right? The ball is being dunked. You have no chance of blocking this shot. Like Wembanyama, 7'4", even if he was standing there, wouldn't be able to block this shot, right? Yao Ming's not getting to this shot, right? Like, it's already being dunked. Like, what are you doing? And look at the next slide.
Oh no.
What is this? He's not even... Why does he jump? Why does his arms like sideways?
He just wanted to see the ball go in up close and personal.
Yeah. And then go to the next slide. The worst part, Siakam misses.
Or it was Barnes or...
No, it was Siakam. Siakam misses. And because Eubanks did that weird jump, he didn't box out Barnes, who just grabs the ball and lays it in off the miss, right? Yeah. As Eubanks stands there and turns around after his stupid jump. And is like, ooh, my guy scored. Like...
Dude, it took me a second to actually like realize. Yeah, because I remember this play. Oh my goodness. Eric, I'm trying to find words.
Why did he jump there?
I don't know.
He completely took himself out of the play for no reason. Like, the guy was already going to the basket. You weren't going to contest that.
Yeah. Well, you know what was frustrating? Is like we just showed two plays of, or we just showed a play of him overhelping, right? And that's a problem, is like he'll overhelp and overextend and like chase the ball and leave his guy, and then his guy will get a dunk, right? This was actually a play he should have helped on. At the rim, right? He's a rim protector, supposedly. That's something he should have been there quicker for and helped on. That was actually a play to help on. And he was late. And then he was really late for no reason. And then, offensive rebound, 1 of 15 for them. And one of they had, Eric, actually, I'm going to wait till we get back on the webcams.
There's more plays.
Okay, we'll go back to the plays. Chat. I just... They had 20 points in the paint in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah.
20 in the first 6 minutes. They were on pace in the first 6 minutes of this game to score 160 points in the paint for an entire game. That's what 20 paint points in 6 minutes is. That is more than 3 points per minute in the paint, Eric. That's not free throws. That's not threes. That's not mid-range jumpers. That's paint points. And it was 2 to crap like this. We just showcased 3 plays in the first, 3 minutes of this game from one, Drew Eubanks. I don't know how it can be more obvious, Eric. Anyway, I'm ready to go back. I just want to chat to see my face wants to that, because I can't believe that number. I checked. I was like, they have to have at least double-digit paint points by now. When we were 6 minutes in, it was twice as much as 10. It was 20.
I think when we had 42 points, they had 40 points in the fade or something crazy like that. Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, let's move on to play number 4.
All right, yeah, 2 more for you. So on this one, I
got it up.
I can't quite see in the...
Oh, you can't?
All right, so here's another play where...
Siakam with the ball down low against Nas?
Yep, Siakam against Nas. And once again, Nas in position. Second slide, we see Eubanks overcommits to the help, even though Nas doesn't need it. And it's not only a lay-in for Think Precious, but Eubanks is going to fall for the pump fake, get up in the air. Achua is going to draw the foul and get an and one. And this is, once again, like the next possession.
Yeah. Anyway.
Going for blocks,
Mm-hmm. Good old
I don't know what he's doing. And then there's a 5th play.
Yeah, I'm loading it right now.
There's only 2 pictures in this slide, but this is just, I want to show another example. This is okay, so this is half court defense, right?
Yep.
This is not like a fast break or anything. Like, this was our setup defense, right? Mm-hmm. So for some reason, Eubanks decides to just guard Siakam at the beginning of this play. We got Nas on Barnes, which is fine. We have Grant on VanVleet, of course. And what does that leave us with? Oh, Dame and Ant trying to guard Precious. So they just lob it over the top, and you can see in the next slide, in the last slide, Dame tries to jump up and get him, but Achua just waits for him to land and then goes up and scores. But as Grant, Eubanks, and Little all just stand there and watch as our two guards try to defend the rim. And this happens way, way, way too much throughout the game, and especially at the beginning of games and the beginning of third quarters, where teams are kind of locked in and know exactly how they want to attack our lineups. And, this just simply can't be the case. And you want to say two guards can't work in the NBA? Well, duh, if they have to be – if there are two paint defenders and you have our three forwards, front court players, out top, yes, two guards can't work in the NBA. But if you have these roles reversed, I do firmly still believe that Dame and Ant can be part of a competent defense, and I just don't understand why we're constantly putting those two in these positions, and then everyone says, oh, they're trash defenders, look, they're getting scored on in the paint, blah, blah, blah. Why does no one ask Chauncey why there are rim protectors?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, we'll listen to his interview in a bit, but yeah, two guards doesn't work in the NBA when you play them like a power forward and a center defensively. Maybe we should trade Ant so we can start Shaedon Sharpe, because maybe he can be our rim protector, since we like to play a guard as our rim protector. But then our rim protector doesn't protect the rim and does Lord knows what on every possession and is just all over the place in a complete mess. The thing is with the Eubanks, we showed 4 plays and it's like, oh, you're picking on him. That's the tip of the iceberg.
That was like the first 4 out of the first 5 plays of the game.
But, okay. There's probably like 20 plays that you could have shown like that.
Mm. And here's the deal. Okay. You know how lately, Tori, you've challenged people to show you examples for what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Whether that be on Twitter or here or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been trying to tell people that Nurk is not very often out of position in these things. So it looks like he might be lazy, or he did the wrong thing, or someone scored, but it's rarely because Nurk is out of position or leaves his guy or helps when he shouldn't help or doesn't help when he shouldn't help or when he should have gone. He's often in the right position, and the game plan, like I said, the first game against Toronto, is to let Barnes shoot a wide open 3 if he gets the ball out there, right? Because he was shooting 20-some% at the right time, right at that time. So people say, oh, he just doesn't want to go out on the shooter. No, that's the game plan. That's the freaking game plan. And it doesn't mean he's lazy. And just because you give effort doesn't mean you're a good defender either. And this is just the distinction I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to pick on Eubanks, but I would challenge anyone like Tori did to show me examples of Nurk making that many mistakes and being the reason why teams are so prone to get off to big leads at the beginning of games on the defensive end, at least. Yeah. And I don't want to hear he's horrible defensively without explaining to me we're showing with other players why they're bad at defense or whatever. So that's my thing. And then people just say, no, you're defending Nurk because he sucks and he's lazy, and it's all narrative based, you tried to address.
There's no substance to that. Mm-hmm. To when people say that to us, there's no substance. There's nothing behind it. We bring the receipts, Eric. I argued with Damani last game. He was saying we weren't running drop scheme. I literally got 3 screenshots in a minute and threw up 3 screenshots of us playing drop scheme. It's not hard. If I can do it while streaming, you guys can do it while we're streaming. So, yeah, bring the receipts. Because we'll bring the receipts. We've tried to show people all season long, tried to explain it to people all season long, Eric. That's why it's kind of hilarious that this game was just such a perfect example of the stuff I'm talking about. It's dude, I don't know what else to do.
And here's the other thing too. It's Toronto made a trade last season. They traded Goran Dragic and a first-round pick for Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a second round pick, right? So they basically, I think it ended up being they moved down like 12 spots or something to get Thaddeus Young. And they immediately cut Eubanks. And, I mean, who knows what the reasoning is, but if you put Eubanks on that team right now, I don't think he's having that much of an impact. If you put Nurk on a good perimeter defending team, like for example, we talked about this last stream, but like Brook Lopez is in a perfect situation with good elite perimeter defenders that put him in a position to be the most effective help defender. And when Golden State was on their run, they had like Andrew Bogut early on in their runs was a very good help defender, even though he would get cooked if he got switched on a pick and roll on the perimeter, right? So I feel like the Blazers' perimeter point of attack defense, pick and roll defense, their schemes, their game plans are all so bad that most centers would struggle in this situation. So like we're not doing any favors for our big men. And then on top of that, like I don't know, I just feel like if Nurk was on another team, his defense, his rim protection would look better because he actually could protect the rim instead of having to decide which one of two guys he's supposed to guard as they're coming down the key wide open. Do I stop the ball handler or do I leave my man open for a wide open dunk like 90% of the possessions that happen in the paint, right? So I just feel like people don't really understand what's happening with our defense and then just criticize the one person who's actually doing everything he can to prevent the other team from getting these open shots. And that, for some reason, makes him lazy. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Artelli says it seems like you guys don't engage with people making actual arguments, just dunk on people who are talking nonsense. No, I wanted to respond to a couple of the comments that you made because a lot of the Drew versus Nurkic talk is narratives this different fan base has, and I like the thing. You know what, chat? You want to know why it drives me so crazy? Is because a big part of this channel is like, how do I say this? How do I say this the right way? Like, I want to teach people about the game of basketball, and I don't know everything, and there's some things I'm completely wrong on, but I do legitimately try and study the game of basketball and watch everything with an open eye and, like, try and know the game of basketball. Like, I've studied the CBA. Eric knows the CBA even better than me. We try and teach people that when we talk trades and that sort of thing. And, like, when it comes to Drew Eubanks, I'm just so baffled as to how people, don't see the issues with him. So a lot of the talk around Drew Eubanks is like, I'm trying to explain what I'm seeing. And then people that argue with us, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm not 100% right. Please bring substance to your arguments. And they don't. So that's why we're focusing on this talk. But it's a legitimate issue. There was a comment that says, sure, Drew makes dumb mistakes, but no one watches the NBA seriously. Thought Eubanks could play consistently on a competitive team. That's not true.
Kevin O'Connor, national writer, several other national writers
and local
writers, of course. Yeah, that's been happening all along. But it's literally dozens of respected national and local media that are claiming how good Eubanks is and how crappy Nurk is. So it's not just a case where no one expects him to be a starter or whatever. Like, people literally were saying that Eubanks is better than Nurkic. And this is like respected national people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem is like, yes, he was in a starter role tonight and he's not supposed to be starting, but anybody that makes this many mistakes in one stint in 22 minutes shouldn't even be your backup because he's showcased all season long, he doesn't have a true understanding of where to be. The thing is, when you're playing against bench lineups, if you're just energetic, you can get by with it more often. But he's had stretches against bench lineups where he's absolutely horrible because he's always out of position or chasing blocks. And then offensively, like, yes, I know he finishes around the rim. He doesn't shoot anything except for pretty high-quality shots around the rim. He doesn't pass. He can't short roll and kick. He can't hit a cutter. Like, he can't shoot. He can't do anything except for finish around the rim. And then the rebounding's a major issue as well off the bench. He's gotten out-rebounded against bench lineups. So, like, part of this is like, sure, yes, he started tonight, but A, for all the people that think he's better than Nurkic and think he should be starting or this or that, think he's some good NBA center, no, obviously not. And B, he shouldn't even be the backup. And that's the criticism I had of Joe Cronin. I thought Eubanks would be great as a third stringer, where, okay, if Nurkic's out, okay, it would have been nice to have Eubanks off the bench tonight for 15 minutes behind somebody else that was more suited to step in and would be more suited for a backup role. So that's my entire point when it comes to Drew, is he's just not good enough to be in the lineup in general.
And I mean, we've been saying that since he was signed. And I think a few minutes after he signed, I was saying that it looks like we gave him the backup center role. So and then that was pretty obvious because we never even tried to address that the rest of the offseason, right? So we literally signed him to be the backup. So whether you think he's a third string or a backup center or whatever on a team with Yusuf Nurkic as the starting center, that front office thought that having Drew Eubanks was good enough and he was a good enough player to be our backup center on a team trying to compete for I don't know about championship this year, but they expected to be better than they were. Then they got off to a great start, and the expectations grew even more. And now they're in a free fall, and I don't know. It's not Drew's fault. He plays his role the best he can. Like Drew is literally. I watched him at Oregon State, right? Just like Gary Payton. There was the year he came out early in the draft, and everyone was like, "What are you doing, bro? Why would you leave early, right?" And credit to him, shout out to him, man. He stuck around with the Spurs. Whether it was, playing, I don't know if it was the G League yet or not, but he stuck around. He kept getting signed and early in his career, and after going undrafted, and he worked his butt off to stay in the NBA. He could have maybe mailed it in and gave up when he got cut last year and no one picked it up, but then he gets a good opportunity to come to a tanking team last year and show what he can do. And he showed enough to where this coaching staff and front office felt good enough to have him be the backup. That is not his fault. I am not blaming him one bit for this. I just feel like we're putting him in a horrible position to succeed, being anything other than an occasional energy guy off the bench.
Yeah, he's just not good enough to justify how much we're playing him, the role we have him in. It's not his fault, you know what I mean? Or, maybe I don't know. I don't know what his work ethic is. Some guys, it's the best players in the world, so all the criticism is obviously in that context, and it's not personal. I'm sure he wouldn't like me considering how much I criticize him, but it's all in the context of him being a guy that's we're supposed to be a competitive team this year, right? But then Cronin hedges his bets and say, oh, well, it's a multi-year process so that people don't hold him accountable for the team he put on the floor. But yeah, Cronin should not have gone into the season with him as the backup center. And him as the only legitimate big center, because when Nurkic is hurt, then it's we have to play Watford at center, and he is severely undersized and doesn't have the athleticism to make up for it at the center position. So we're just basically screwed. And that's the problem. It's
also a cool story and being local. You always want people that grew up in this area, went to school at whether it's Oregon or Oregon State to succeed. I mean, that's all cool stories. And I have no problem with him being on the team. It's just we knew Nurk wasn't going to play 82 games. So it's kind of frustrating that we're sitting here end of January still talking about this being a problem that was never addressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't something that you had to wait to address, right? you could have gotten a better option at backup center this offseason. So like it's not that's why I don't like giving Cronin the he said it wasn't a good roster or the roster wasn't ready yet. Well, like he put some of these players in the position though. Like he was the reason why these players are here. So yeah.
Yep. So basically, yeah. I don't trust Cronin. Cronin has to prove himself to me.
Yeah, let me. This kind of ties into what I wanted to say earlier, so let me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm hearing is that Josh Hart is a very hot commodity, unlike Nurkic, on the trade market, and that's basically, outside of the obvious teams that don't want to win this year, every team wants a Josh Hart, is from what I'm hearing. And also,
so maybe we should want him too.
Yeah. Also, if like players like OG don't end up getting traded, or like even if he does get traded, only one team gets him, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a bunch of other players or a bunch of other teams with not a lot of players that are the type of players that a team could add this season and help them win a championship or something. So there's going to be a lot of teams looking for upgrades, and what like the only surefire players that are going to be traded are what, Jay Crowder. Like there aren't really many other players that are better than Crowder that are for sure going to get traded or even play on teams that are looking to make trade, right? So if they do, I mean, I don't know if they're going to move Hart or not, but if they do decide to move him, the market might bear out to where he is one of the best players traded at the deadline. And in a market where there are not many good players available and there are a bunch of teams desperate, like the New York Knicks want to, they have come out and said they do not want to go younger. They do not care about the future. They want to win now, and they want to like trade some of their players to go all in. And there's other teams as well in a similar situation. We've heard all season about how desperate like teams like Bucks and the Heat are to add another player to help them win now because they have win now rosters. And they've been linked to Jay Crowder and players like that all season. So in this market, you have a situation where Josh Hart probably will only be traded because his value becomes so much in a trade that it's kind of hard for Cronin to not trade him, like
what would that value be?
Well, like I'm talking like a first, and like it's kind of like the trades we've been talking about all along, right? Where we possibly get a good player or two back for Hart and also get like a first or something.
Yeah.
So
well, my whole question for that is, if there's not a lot of players available and Hart's price is inflated because of that, wouldn't those other good players we get back in a trade, wouldn't their prices also be inflated, and wouldn't it be a wash?
Well, I mean, it depends on if they're in situations where the team needs him more. Like I don't know a name, but let's say like Jalen McDaniels, your guy, right? Like there'd have to be like, let's just say Cody Martin and Jalen McDaniels
from the Hornets. Yep.
Right. Okay. But the Hornets don't necessarily want Hart. But like this other team, say the Knicks, they don't think Jalen McDaniels is the answer there, and they like Hart better because he's like a proven veteran or whatever. And then like they don't want Cody Martin or whatever. Like maybe we get Cody Martin and he like we can somehow turn him into closer to his brother, But like that's the kind of thing of what I'm saying is like you get a couple smaller contracts, you maybe become a player in the buyout market based on what you do, and you get an asset in a first round pick that could lead to a bigger trade down the road or something like that. And this is exactly what I was going to bring up. So DJ Vega says he's the Derek White of this deadline. Derek White got a first round pick and a future pick swap from the Boston Celtics last year. And I don't think you can really make the argument that Hart has less value than Derek White outside of maybe being locked up more years. So like there are going to be moves to be made. And I mean, even if it's as simple as an expiring contract in 2 firsts or something that you get for Josh Hart, because the team like Derrick Rose and 2 firsts from New York because they don't care about draft picks or something like that. So what I'm basically saying is Cronin is in a position where if he doesn't get value for Hart and he trades him for a trade that's similar to the deadline last year, this guy should be killed, and I am going to flip.
You should rephrase that because I don't think you mean that literally.
Yeah, not killed. Yeah.
He should be crushed. He should be.
He should be like criticized a lot. Yeah.
Before you get taken out of context.
I meant that metaphorically. Yeah.
Yes. I got you. I got your back on that.
He should get killed with criticism.
Yes.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. No one deserves to die. Yeah. Of course. But yeah. Anyways, so like, yeah. If he doesn't get value in when the market is literally set up for him to succeed, if he decides to trade Hart, it should. I mean, this should lose any faith you have in Joe Cronin, because it will for me.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I don't trust him yet, but this is the deadline where he can prove himself to me, or he can prove that I shouldn't trust him. I
mean, if he pulls off a great, like, let's say we get one of our targets, like a Caleb Martin or someone like that, right? Mm-hmm. And a first or something from another team, and maybe somehow you end up with another player like those 2-for-1 type trades that we've been talking about that might not be a better player than Josh Hart, but maybe by having 2 more rotation players and an asset or something. So I just don't see any way how he could screw that up if he decides to trade Hart. Now he could just decide not to trade him, and maybe we find out that what kind of offers he had on the table, and we're mad about that. But yeah, I just, it's setting up if Cronin is really shopping him like the rumors are, and that there is a ton of interest in Hart. And unfortunately, Max S is like Hart for Cam in some package. I'm sure you're talking about Cameron Johnson. I have some bad news. I think Cameron Johnson is going to remain a Phoenix Sun. I think the new owner is going to pay him, and I don't think he's going to be available like he was with the previous ownership and all throughout the season until he came back.
Yep. That's the thing, though, is like, my whole thing is, how does it end up with Portland getting better now or in the long term? That's my whole thing. Like, I want this team to get better now. How does it result in that is my question. Because I'm guessing he might have more teams interested in him because he can do a bunch of different things, so he makes sense in multiple roles, so multiple teams could fit him into kind of some of their needs and he could help them, whereas like more specialized players might make a ton of sense for a team with a need for their skill set, but don't make sense for every team. So I don't know. As far as like last year's trade deadline has me expecting Cronin to fail in terms of trying to get market value for him, but everybody was saying, oh, he was out leveraged. Well, this year, if he's selling Josh Hart, he has all the leverage in the world. So there's no excuses. And I don't even... God. I just don't know how he pivots that into making the team better this year. It's like you got a dude whose rebounding is needed in the starting lineup. We saw how we rebounded without him and Nurkic tonight. It was absolutely horrible. And this is still a good NBA player, and it's like, okay, well, if we're trying to get better this year, how does trading him result in a better Trailblazer team? Obviously, if you're tanking and selling everyone like we did last year, it makes a ton of sense, but we're not. So how do we get better from a Josh Hart trade is my question for Cronin.
Okay, so it might not be this year, though, right?
Yeah, how do we get better next year then?
Okay, so what have we been talking about all season when it comes to like big trades or like a superstar trade?
We've talked a lot about him. I don't know what specifically.
That it's easier in the off season if that's our goal, right?
Yeah, okay.
Especially once we have our picks freed up, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we got Dallas's first or something in that trade with New York or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you get a couple firsts for Hart, you would be able, and then we had all our firsts next year, you'd be able to package a bunch together.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is like we just increase the asset pool we have, and then trading 3 firsts for an OG or whether we go bigger hunting than that. Like I just think it's easier the more assets you have, unless you're for sure.
I mean,
confident you're keeping Hart after this season, but like
at that point, you're basically completely punting on this year.
But if you got, let's say
at that point, you might as well tank then.
Let's say we got like Nick Batum back or something. Like, I think he's good enough to like keep us somewhat relevant this year, not too big of a drop off, and we get an extra first. But if you keep Hart, are you necessarily not punting on the season? We suck.
I mean, you're trying to.
We're 12th place.
Yeah, we do suck. We also are 2 losses out of 5th.
Yeah, but we've been saying that all year, and other teams are starting to win.
So basically, we've been on par with every other team from 5th to 12th in the last 2 months.
But we're heading down, and they're all heading up.
Are we heading down? If we had Nurkic and Hart tonight, do we lose this game, considering where our biggest problems were in this game, were areas they help out in? And if we won this game, we'd have won 3 in a row.
Against the Spurs, and who else do we beat?
It's sad that I can't even remember. But it was a decent team, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, it was against the Jazz, but the Jazz are in that pack.
Yeah.
But we took care of the Jazz. Dame's playing great basketball. The thing is, we haven't had Nas, right? And you're a big Nas fan, and Nas is playing good.
Mm-hmm.
So he can help us. Like we still don't know if this team can or can't.
But we move Nas into the starting lineup, and you get a player that's competent off the bench. Maybe he's a better shooter than Hart is. Maybe it improves our spacing.
I mean, but that's my whole point. Is like somehow we'd have to not get worse while also getting assets. Like we'd have to trade Hart for 2 firsts, then trade one of those firsts for a player that could be as impactful as Hart, and then somehow just net a first out of it. You know what I mean? Like, if that's possible, sure. But that's my whole thing is, like, I don't know how Cronin would be able to, because we need rotation players. I don't think you can lose a key rotation player. And it's like, if Hart's price is that high, then if Nick Batum becomes available, shoot. If Hart can fetch 2 firsts, I wouldn't be shocked if Nick Batum can fetch a first then. I know he's not played and hasn't really done anything this year, but if Hart's fetching 2 firsts, I could see Batum fetching a first then.
I mean, I never said Hart was fetching 2 firsts. I just said
I'm just saying, like,
that's his scenario. But I mean,
if his price is
Hart's way younger, he fits kind of the like they need more of like a ball handling guard. But he's I don't know.
Also a free agent. So yeah, but like in general, that's an extra first on top of that. I just don't. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, but
like, how's that a net gain? if we
Um,
don't swing a big trade in the offseason? Like, how can it be
I
like
mean,
something where we're not completely punting on this year end, and then it's also still a net gain?
well, flip that first for like PJ Washington or something. So let's say you end up with uh I don't know, Caleb Martin and PJ Washington or something out of Hart. It's kind of like we end up with Grant and Hart out of CJ, right?
Yeah, I'd absolutely do that. I just don't think Hart's about. I don't know. I mean, you're like more plugged in than I am. So I'm just kind of speaking off the top of my head, like trying to think logically about things. I don't see why Hart would have more value than PJ Washington.
I don't know. I mean, some people, I don't know, like maybe they're scared about his restricted free agency price tag being too high or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he does it. I'm
I
just
mean, it
saying
comes
I
off the
don't.
bench for Charlotte too. Like,
Yeah, he's still. But like Hart should be coming off the bench for us, right? Hypothetically, according to a lot of people. So if he goes somewhere else, is he coming off the bench too? You know, that's the thing. Is like if he could. If I'm like sitting here thinking about it, I feel like Josh Hart and PJ Washington have relatively equal trade value. So like my whole thing is like, okay, well, if he could turn Josh Hart into PJ Washington and Caleb Martin, yes, that'd be good. But like how if they have equal trade value? That's basically what I'm wondering. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying like I don't know how he would be able to make that happen.
well, I mean, like the Knicks have Julius Randle, and maybe they don't want PJ Washington. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's just team
Yeah,
fit.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, young 3-and-D big like that. They're both free agents this offseason. Like, I mean, if Josh Hart has more trade value, I mean, we should have tried to trade him earlier and swoop in on Rui and something else then, because Rui only went for 3 seconds and would have went for 2 seconds if they.
Rui had no value like that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is like, I don't know. I'm baffled by Rui not having any value, but.
I mean, it hasn't been good this year. I mean, I think he can turn it around with LA. Like, I would have taken a chance on him, but I think you're way overvaluating it.
I mean, I think he was in like the worst possible position.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. No, we've talked about that at length, how, when you have multiple younger players all playing the same position I think the Magic are going to have the same problem. They have a bunch of guards and forwards that all need minutes. Like I don't see how you can make that work with young players. But
yeah, like I don't know. I just look at him like he's in the last couple of years he's averaged about 23 minutes per game and 12 points per game in 23 minutes. That's solid, and it's on okay efficiency.
Atrocious defense too.
Yeah, but like you're getting Rui to be a sixth man forward bench scorer. Like you can, I don't know. I'm just surprised you could only like to be able to get as talented of a scorer as he is as at a power forward position, who's young for only 2 seconds is just surprising to me because like, I don't know. You look at what some offensively talented forwards go for. I feel like he had more value than that. And you would expect him to get better. He's played, he's dealt with some injury problem. Maybe that's why he's injury prone, I guess. But he's still young. I don't know. I'm just surprised by that. Especially in an inflated market, Eric, is my point. Because there's not many good players available, I agree.
All I know is I heard once Hart, there were rumors out that became available, every single team that is not a tanking team, and even some of the tanking teams called the Blazers immediately.
Yeah, but was it due diligence or true interest?
I'm telling you, Tori, he's the hottest name on the market. Like, it's him and Jay Crowder. That's his competition. Like, that's. I mean, I'm not saying like I want that to be true. Like, obviously I do. Like, yeah.
I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just wondering how they, because it doesn't make sense without some sort of follow up or something else. So that I'm wondering about that something else.
Every single team views Hart as someone that is like plug and play.
Yeah,
is a decent defender.
I'm worrying about that something else, like what, like the other part, like what we get back, whether it's in the same trade, multi-team trade, or follow-up trade.
Okay, I'm not saying we're gonna do something good, but when you have like, at least 2/3 of the league calling you about a player, and you can't, if you don't find value in a trade somehow being creative and doing that, then you probably shouldn't be a GM.
Absolutely. Why does it sound like we're disagreeing?
I don't know. You're just like,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
All over this Hart thing.
I'm not poo-pooing over it. I'm wondering, like, sure, I'm playing I'm like wondering. I'm not saying anything definitive. I don't know how else to word it so it doesn't sound as definitive. I'm saying I'm just like, I'm wondering about the something else. So it's like, if he has this value, then I'm wondering why other guys don't have more value. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why teams want him. I just, like, part of the reason why he'd have extra value, Eric, is because there's not a lot out there. So does that not apply to certain types of players? Like,
okay, look at Cam Reddish right now, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he just sucks.
Yeah, but like, this is what. Whether you believe in him or not, okay, apparently it came out today, the Knicks will take him for any expiring contract and a second-round pick. And there's no... Like, you're telling me Detroit, who has Cade Cunningham out for the year, that last year they traded for Marvin Bagley, ended up liking him and re-signing him, like, you can't trade a second-round pick? We gave him a bunch in the Jeremy Grant trade. Like, you can't even trade... a second-round pick and give that guy some minutes and see what you can do. And if he sucks, just let him go in the offseason. But the reasoning behind Cam Reddish, for those, even if you truly believed he could be better in a different situation, it was a case where we talked about how I don't think Portland is in a position where they want to gamble on will he or won't he? And I think Rui was kind of in that same boat. I'm not saying he was bad or anywhere near as bad as Reddish. Obviously, he got 3 seconds. So, but I think some teams were like not willing to take that gamble. Whereas Hart, you 100% know what you are trading for, how he will impact your team, what you are getting from him, and all that kind of stuff. So, like, it came out today that, like, Milwaukee was like looking to take a flyer on Reddish possibly, but they've been trying to trade Grayson Allen, but they were like, don't think Grayson Allen is worth Reddish in this situation. So, like that's the kind of example. Like, so they wouldn't have also like wanted Rui, but if you're talking about like Grayson Allen for Josh Hart, then you're like, oh, wow, like we can see how Josh Hart could come in and be this person right away. So I think that's just like what teams are looking at, and then you have to find like a tanking team that has a different player that they don't necessarily want. But yeah, I don't know. Like, you have to be creative. But like, I mean, Vanderbilt, Max Anderson asked, can Blazers trade for Vanderbilt? That is a guy they very badly still want. And that might be part of it. Like, maybe you get like Derrick Rose in a first from New York, and you send that expiring contract to Utah, and you get something along with Vanderbilt, and you give them the first or something, and you think Vanderbilt's defense being a little bit bigger is better than Hart's defense, and Vanderbilt's an okay enough rebounder to maybe it's not an issue. You still have shooting issues and stuff, but like, I'm just saying, like, you have to find a way to maybe get someone with Vanderbilt that replaces Hart at the small forward position, you know?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because it's like, if you're trading him for Rose and a first, as you said, and you're flipping that first to Utah for Vanderbilt or whatever, and Rose wherever as an expiring, you're trading that first that you get for Hart for Vanderbilt. Where does the extra value come in to get that something else?
I don't know, maybe you throw a couple seconds somewhere, because you you'd have room in that trade, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
big
You'd
amount of salary.
basically, you'd basically be utilizing Hart going out and Vanderbilt coming in and us saving a bunch of money in that to absorb salary for another player. Absolutely, that's basically what I've been expecting.
There's ways to do it. I mean, Corona would have to get really creative, but and this wouldn't work for like OG this summer, but I think for certain teams, we had the 6.6 million trade exception and like a 3.3 million exception. I think certain teams that are out of the tax could theoretically give someone close to both of those. And we could absorb both of those players in the TPE, create a full TPE of $13 million with Josh Hart's contract, and get a first or whatever, and then we'd have that $13 million TPE and a first to go after another player before the deadline. I don't know, stuff like that. Like I said, you got to be creative, but I don't know. I don't know.
PJ Washington fits into our $6.5 million
Right.
TPE, so like that's a good example to throw in there. And then Justice could hypothetically match. Yeah, I mean, it's just how does somebody match Hart would become the question there. Because Justice could match another, six,
Well, if they had
7 million.
Do they have anyone around like 3.3?
I'll bring up Fanspo right now. Chat, do you want to see the Fanspo screen or no? I'm not sure how much we're going to put together on here. And I'll have to take the time to set it up. I need to set one up. I thought I did set something up. Did I not? I don't know. I'm opening up Fanspo right now. Charlotte Hornets. They got Mark Williams. Kai Jones making 2.9. Mark Williams is making 3.7.
Yeah, I think that's too much.
Yeah, for the Walker one. Kai Jones fits though.
Did you bring it up on the screen? Or no?
Not yet,
Okay.
Not yet.
I mean, they're not really playing Mark Williams.
True.
Is Nick Richards like 1.5 or something?
Yeah,
or
he's
is
cheap. I'm not looking at it right now, but I know he's cheap.
Well, if you got like 2 minimums in PJ, is that enough? I don't know if that's enough to bring back what. I don't know. Would you take Hartenstein Obi in a first?
Hartenstein Obi into first? Yes. But I have a soft spot for Obi, so
I mean, that would give us a backup center.
I probably like Obi too much, to be honest. Wait, okay, will it work now? Is it up now? Okay, cool. Let me just make it bigger. Let me put it below the scoreboard. Nope, it blocks it. Wait. Down there. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right.
We can get our $25 pick back, says DJ Pick. That'd be so hilarious.
I mean, honestly, let me make sure this is good.
I mean, yeah, that's not the worst thing. Yeah.
Well, just speaking in terms of getting a pick back, like I want to get our pick back from Chicago, is what I want to do.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have like a future first right now. Because if we do that and then we make the playoffs, we basically gave up a future first for no reason, if that makes sense.
No, but then we'd have like our 16th pick or whatever.
Yeah.
In the offseason. So we'd still have a first back for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it wouldn't be for nothing. We get our first back this year. That's 15th, 16th, 17th. Who knows? So you were thinking, what were you thinking? Let me put Portland on the left. Like, okay. Charlotte. Like, PJ Washington to Portland.
Definitive one, that's what we should have done anyway.
Let's throw the Knicks in here. All right. So Hart to the Knicks. Okay.
We'd have OG right now if we would have gotten our first back last year.
I wonder if you could match Hartenstein with like Winslow plus Keon. Keon to the Hornets, Winslow to the. They don't have a TP though. Dang it. That's not enough outgoing. I'm trying to finagle, which is such a funny word. Who wants Winslow again? Or like isn't there rumors that Boston wants him and they have a TPE to take him?
There's no rumors lately. That was an off-season thing.
Yeah, I mean,
that they had interested in. But
if you could like get Winslow to a team with a TPE big enough to absorb him, you could do something like this, and then maybe you trade a second to Charlotte or something, where Boston gets Winslow for free. The Knicks trade Reddish, Hartenstein, and a first for Hart. The Hornets trade PJ Washington for Keon Johnson, Cam Reddish, and a second. And then the Blazers trade Hart for Hartenstein, PJ Washington, and a first. And also Winslow and Keon match Hartenstein. The TPE is big enough to take on PJ Washington, so you would get a $13 million trade exception for Josh Hart.
And the Knicks for sure give up a first in this deal.
Yeah. And basically the question is, would a team take on Winslow for nothing? And would the Hornets be willing to do that? Like,
I mean, you could also just skip getting the TPE and not do the Winslow part.
Yeah. If a team didn't want to take Winslow, then you could skip out and get the TPE, but like, you know, just showcasing what you were talking about, being creative, generating a trade exception for Hart. Because, chat, if you're confused on what a trade exception is, let me just go into this real quick. A trade exception is something that can be used to absorb salary that's up to the amount of the trade exception plus $100,000, which is basically nothing. So if you have a $12.9 million trade exception from Josh Hart, you could absorb up to $13 million in salary in a trade without having to match it. So we could trade for a player making $13 million without having to send anything out, which makes it easier in future years to just like take on a contract in a trade, which sometimes teams will just want to get rid of contracts in general, and you basically can generate value out of that trade exception. The Blazers were able to get Jeremy Grant a little bit easier because they had a $20 million trade exception this year, so Detroit didn't have to take any salary back for him, instead of us having to trade out $16, $17 million to match his salary via the trade rules. You create trade exceptions by sending out salary without getting any money back for it. So, basically in this, we're generating a $13 million trade exception via Josh Hart because we don't have to match PJ Washington. He's making $5.8 million. We have a $6.5 million trade exception that can absorb his salary. That's why you see this TE with the money sign crossed out, right? So we don't have to match him. Nothing is accounting for matching PJ Washington, okay? The only salary we have to match is Hartenstein. You can word it however you want, just as long as it follows the rules. So the way this would be worded, we're trading out Winslow's $4 million and Keon Johnson's $2.6 million. That's $6.6 million of salary. That $6.6 million can match Hartenstein's $7.8 million because it's close enough. So both Hartenstein and PJ Washington are accounted for without including Josh Hart's outgoing salary. So basically, we're trading Josh Hart out for nothing and generating a $13 million trade exception. That's how that works. Hopefully, I did a good enough job of explaining that clearly.
Yep. But, so, okay, you were talking earlier about, I think maybe the Knicks might even give up a couple more seconds in this one. So maybe Charlotte gets 3 seconds and Cam and Keon for giving up PJ. So I agree with DJ Vega that maybe add a couple more seconds there or something. Um, and then, but yeah, like the thing is, um, so you're saying earlier, like, how does trading Josh Hart make us better?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this makes us any better, or do you think we're worse, or do you think?
I think we're close enough this year where you could paint it as we're not, giving up on the year because our front court off the bench would be much better.
Yeah, we'd have a lot more length.
Yeah, defense off the bench. And then also you're getting a first round pick and a TPE. So you could paint it as, okay, we're not necessarily getting worse now. We're addressing some other areas and clearing a spot for Nasir Little start, and then we're getting an asset that we can use to get better in the future.
And a TPE.
And a TPE that we can use to get better in the future.
And Hartenstein's contract would be tradable this summer, too.
Yeah, so, like, this would be my greatest idea of a trade. Also, Eric, we don't even have to... We can trade Winslow to the Knicks.
Yeah.
We don't even have to trade him to a fourth team. Yeah, as part of this trade, maybe one last second.
Can you go back for a second?
To the
success
screen or like the other
I just
screen?
want to make sure they're still under the tax, which
they are.
So
$4.3 million under the tax. Charlotte's way under the tax. Don't even have to worry about that.
And we get $6 million under the tax, so we could be a player in the buyout market as well.
Yep.
We could actually sign a free agent, or we could go after someone right then.
Yeah, because we're trading 3 for 2.
I think the Knicks would want those two if they couldn't get anyone better.
Yeah. So like this would be my most optimistic Josh Hart trade. I have questions as to how easily gettable PJ Washington is.
Yeah.
I
mean, maybe he's not gettable, but then you just find, then you move on to the next team.
Someone else, yeah. But that's the thing, is Cam Reddish too. This is maybe my favorite trade idea that I've come up with, or we've come up with, because we kind of collectively come up with this. The Hornets are the type of team that, if there is a team to take a flyer on Cam Reddish, that might make the most sense out of any team.
Yeah, maybe.
They desperately need defense, and that's, the only area where Cam Reddish has any value right now, I feel like, even though I think he's overrated. And he's a forward. They got a lot of guards. He's still, youngish. I just don't think he's good. I don't think... It seems like he doesn't have much of a work ethic. He hasn't really improved a ton, and teams are giving up on him. That gives me a red flag, but, he would make some sense for Charlotte, and then Keon, just young guy in seconds. I mean, that's more than Rui got back, and Rui was in the same situation. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Anything else you want to try on here?
No, I mean that's kind of the framework of a trade, and I think there's, any number of teams you could do that with. Another super simple one would just be, I mean, this is gonna sound disgusting.
Oh God, I'm scared.
But what about Hart for a first round pick and Robert Covington
from the Clippers?
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Because he's not really playing much either. He's got a $12 million expiring contract next season. That could be a good trade asset, and you'd have a future first round pick to have value.
Do they even have any firsts?
They can trade a 2028 first, I think, which would be... I'd like that, but yeah. I know we don't want Rocco, but I'm just saying that would make sense in terms of contracts going in and out, and yeah. But you could immediately turn around and flip Rocco in that first for something else too.
Yeah, 3-team trade.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing about that 3-team trade we had before that, though, is if you flip that Knicks pick, the first round pick from the Knicks, if you find a way to flip that for our first back from Chicago, so that we could have all our future firsts, and then we have that TPE, and we're like $7 million below the tax, then if Cam Johnson is truly available,
offer a
then
couple
you could
protected
really
first or something for him.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how many firsts you want to be able to, but he could be an option then.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Hartenstein. Maybe you don't even use the TPE. Maybe it's Hartenstein and first and
2 firsts or something.
2 firsts or whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Like if he truly is available, which I don't think he is anymore. He's
I
definitely
definitely call. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's the thing is basically that would be an option. It would be a follow-up option. Basically, you want to have templates. How do I take this off?
How far are we under the tax? And we have an open roster spot too.
We would have been. We'd have an open
something?
roster spot, and we gained like 6.1 million, or we lost $6.1 million. So we're like what, $500,000 under? So it'd be 6.6, and then if you're trading for somebody, that accounts for that open roster spot we'd have to fill.
I think it's only like 67K actually.
Is it really that close?
Yeah, it's like
everything else has more of a gap, so it's different sides say different things, but yeah. So you'd be able to add salary, and that's the thing is you want to have a template and you want to have an idea for what sort of return and what sort of structure you would want around a multi-team Josh Hart deal, and then you try and plug in different pieces in return for him from other various teams that would make sense from a salary standpoint and a skill set standpoint. So PJ Washington, Rui Hachimura, Cam Johnson were all in similar contractual situations, all power forwards. Cam Johnson's more of a combo forward, while PJ Washington's more of a power forward center type of big man. But all three of those guys were young, could provide some things off the bench that Portland needed, and were making around the same contract point. So you could, if it's not Charlotte trading PJ Washington in that 3-team trade we showed, it could be the Suns if Cam Johnson was available, which I don't think he is anymore. Or it could have been the Wizards before they traded Rui, right? So you basically have a template and you have different potential pathways you could go within that trade template, okay? And then you're trying to set yourself up for potential follow-up moves, which in that trade we showed, the 3-team trade, you would get a $13 million TPE and a first-round pick. So then you have different paths off of that. That's what good GMs do, right? Then it would be, oh, you got a future first from New York. Can we flip that for a pick back? If so, then what can we do with those, with having all our future firsts again? Or, in the offseason, what can we get for that $13 million trade exception that could help the team? That maybe is just a player the team doesn't want to pay $13 million, but we'd be willing to pay $13 million or $12 million or whatever. So that's the thing. You want to have different pathways. You don't want to be set on one specific guy unless it's a star, usually, unless it's a superstar. You want to have different. It's basically like a tree, right? You can branch off in different directions based on what you do. It needs to set up follow-up moves. So that's the thing. If Josh Hart's getting traded, it needs to be for a proper package that allows Portland either gives them the assets and or the flexibility via a trade exception or whatever to be able to go in different directions to improve the team. Does that make sense? So that's the thing. You never want to be dead set on one thing. If we can't get our first round pick back from Chicago, have a different plan, have different options. Because if you
still have a future first, an extra one, and you can still so after the draft next year, we can finally trade a first again because we'll have our 2030 first available. So instead of no picks to trade, we'd at least have 2 firsts to trade in any trade without even changing the protections of the Chicago pick. If that conveys this year, then we don't have to worry about it at all then, and we have all our future first and that extra first. So, I don't see how that really matters that much. Who cares if we can't get it back? It still opens up a lot of options.
Yep. We'll take trade suggestions if you want to, Eric, for 10-15 minutes. We can plug it in on the trade machine.
And who's a good small forward that, outside of OG.
The problem is there's not a ton. That's why I think OG might
go
for more than people.
Not even necessarily available. But yeah.
Oh.
So Miami's tricky.
Yeah, what was that Miami trade talked about in chat? I'm down to put that in the trade machine. Somebody said check my Hart to Heat trade.
Yeah, I don't know.
Send it my way, Vladimir.
Well, okay. Well, here's DJ Mega mentions Vando. Let's say we didn't get Hartenstein in that trade, maybe we got someone else.
From the Knicks?
Yeah, I don't know. But like maybe we get like Vando instead of
PJ
or something. I don't know. Or Vando instead of Hartenstein or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the structure would still be pretty close to working because basically you just throw Vanderbilt's salary in instead of PJ Washington's. Utah would be able to take a little... they have trade exceptions, so it'd be easy to just throw salary their way. They'd have to stay under the tax, but the only problem with Vanderbilt instead of PJ is I think it's more likely that Vanderbilt's asking price is a first-round pick, whereas PJ, it might be a little less.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean... I
think PJ's better too, so I don't, agree with that. I just think that's what it'd be.
I agree. I'd rather have PJ, but if we got it first, I think we could easily flip that for Vanderbilt if we still had our TP or whatever.
Yeah. Well, basically in this 3-team package, you'd be looking at New York sending the first to Utah. Instead of to us.
Yeah.
So it'd basically be Vanderbilt for Hartenstein and Vanderbilt.
I don't think the Jazz can do that.
What do you mean? No, it'd be like... So basically on the template we had before, right? So we were getting Hartenstein, and we were getting PJ Washington. Instead, we got Hartenstein and Vanderbilt, and they're sending Cam Reddish out.
Oh, okay.
They have a $10 million trade exception from
Joe
Ingles that they traded to us.
Worried about the tax.
Yeah, they're
they're not going to pay the tax.
Yeah, they're $5.5 million under after this, so... you could do the same thing. They're still going to be under the tax. They have TPs to absorb it, so you could do Keon and Cam Reddish instead of Charlotte. You do it to Utah, and then you do Josh Hart to the Knicks, and it's the same... Oh, no, and then Justice Winslow to the Knicks as well, and it's the same sort of template, right? Like, this is the template without including picks. Same exact template, except instead of PJ Washington for Cam Reddish and Keon Johnson from the Hornets, it's Jared Vanderbilt for Cam Reddish and Keon Johnson from the Jazz. The only problem with this, and this is where, if we're trading Hart, what's the other stuff to the trade that I was talking about, Eric, is I think that Utah would hold out for a first. So that would mean that first that was going to us instead is going to the Jazz. So it would be something like that. Correct? This is the type of trade I'm kind of scared of.
Mm-hmm. Because we don't get that extra asset.
We don't get that extra asset. Yes, we have a $13 million trade exception, but trade exceptions really only work if you can use assets to get something salary-wise. The only other way a trade exception generates value is if you're taking on salary that another team doesn't want to pay, and for that little amount, that's probably not going to be a super good player. That, there might not be a player that makes sense to get with that TPE just outright. So it's like, okay, well, that TPE, we need assets to attach to it. If we end up in the lottery this year and we don't have our future first, how are we going to be able to use that trade exception is basically my question. And this trade doesn't really make us better right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are a lot higher on Vanderbilt than us that would probably disagree, but
absolutely. I think Jared Vanderbilt and Hartenstein aren't as good of fits next to each other as PJ Washington and Hartenstein off the bench.
Yeah, I am kind of concerned about, because PJ and Jared are kind of like fours that are small ball fives or whatever.
Yeah, but at least PJ
and then getting Hartenstein too. I don't know. I don't know if that's the greatest fit, but
yeah. So this is the type of trade I'm scared of, where there's no clear way that it gets us better in the future, and there's no clear way that it gets us better right now. And it's kind of just rearranging chairs almost. So that's where it was like, if Josh Hart has a lot of value, then I feel like if Josh Hart has a ton of value due to the market, due to not a lot of good players being available, then I'd be worried about, okay, what's going to raise Jared Vanderbilt's price too? So it's like if that's somebody we want, it's going to cancel out and we just end up with something like this. That's what I'd be worried about. So. Anyway, I'm looking at chat now too.
I mean, Hartenstein has been playing a little better since Mitchell Robinson got hurt, but I don't know. I guess your feelings on Hartenstein depend on if you think he's closer to what he was last year with the Clippers, or if he's being used improperly on the Knicks this year, or if he's just maybe last year was an outlier and maybe you're not high on him. But I mean, if he's close to if he's close to what he was last year, I think he's definitely a good fit. But it's just tough.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hartenstein, but I also still don't know exactly what he is.
I mean, that's a fair point, Aeromancer, too. Like who says Chauncey would be able to use him right either.
Yeah. He's the type of...
But maybe he could talk to his boy Ty Lue. And...
Yeah. But why would Ty Lue help us, you know? But that's the thing, is like both Hartenstein and Vanderbilt are the types of guys where it's like in the right system, they could be really beneficial. But if you don't trust Chauncey, those aren't necessarily the guys you should really, really want. Because, like, a 3-and-D guy that defends on the ball, like OG Anunoby, Chauncey would have no problem integrating OG Anunoby in a productive way, right? But, like, a guy with the... Yeah, but, like, a guy...
On ball.
God. Yeah, I mean, but still, like, theoretically, it should be a lot easier for even a bad coach to integrate. Whereas Jared Vanderbilt's a mobile center with the size of a power forward who's not super skilled offensively, and like is I don't know, kind of a weird good defensive player for sure, but like he's quick, but is he quick enough to guard the best guards? We just saw Dame torch that Utah Jazz team, and at times Jared Vanderbilt in that game, right? Like he's a weird player. So how do you incorporate that? And then if you have a bench, because you don't want to start Vanderbilt, because then you're moving Grant to the 3, and we already talked about his struggles guarding guards. So what, you're going to start Vanderbilt, who also probably isn't the best against guards either? Or you bring Hartenstein, Vanderbilt, and Gary Payton II off the bench? Which is just kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like you're just missing shot creation and shooting there. We already don't have enough off the bench, and you're trading Josh Hart for two guys that are worse in terms of shot creation and shooting. So that's where my question marks about Cronin come in.
Well, like YYC says, why don't we trade with the Raptors? They got all the size. Okay, well, one, they are ridiculously high in terms of what they're expecting on value for their players, and some of that's rightfully so, but it comes down to this for me. Cronin versus Ujiri in a negotiation standoff, I'd have a really tough time believing that the Blazers would come out thinking that they got the better end of the deal on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys what you should expect if we trade for OG Anunoby, in my opinion. And I'll give my reasoning as to why it would be the trade to expect. But yeah, let's just do like Winslow there, and then like boom, boom. New York sends a first. We send a second to Chicago for our first back. And then, does this salary check out Raptors-wise? Yeah. Does it check out Knicks-wise? No, they got trade Reddish to the Raptors. Okay. All right, so everything checks out salary-wise. right? And we basically, this is kind of the same template that we were using, except we get OG Anunoby, right? And New York sends our first to Chicago, who sends us our first back, right? But then guess what? Okay, our 2023 first to Toronto, our 2025 first to Toronto, our 2027 first to Toronto, and our 2029 first to Toronto. Probably with some protections on them, but I know the going rate is 3 firsts for OG. I had an argument about this the other day about, oh, no way they'd get 4 firsts back for him. Given how much of a seller's market this is and how many teams would want OG Anunoby, and that is Joe Cronin dealing with Masai Ujiri, and that OG Anunoby is a really good role player that every team would want, every winning team would want, then this is what you should expect if we trade for OG Anunoby. Yes, it's an overpayment.
I don't think it takes 4. There's no way. 3 unprotected.
But Eric, yes, it shouldn't take 4. But do you trust Cronin? Do you trust Mr. Joe Cronin to not give up 4 first-round picks?
Yes, because 3 unprotected is ridiculous. So yes.
Well, some of these would be protected. Would you rather trade 4 picks with 3 being top 8 protected, or 3 unprotected?
I mean, I don't think they're doing protected ones, so I think it's going to have to be 3 unprotected. Maybe 2 unprotected and 1 lightly protected.
So you're trading the 2023 first unprotected for OG?
I'm not. No, I don't want OG. If the price is this.
Well, I'm saying what you would expect Cronin to do.
I expect him to trade 3 first. I don't know protection wise. If he traded for OG, I think we're giving up 3 first.
I mean, in this trade, we are only giving up 3 firsts.
And
it's Hart and 3 firsts. And I just don't trust Cronin to negotiate with Masai Ujiri. That's why I expect it to be even more.
And, well, I mean, our first this year, even if we got OG, might be really good. So, yeah.
Well, see, that's where I think the 2023 first would at least have some protections on it. Just in case. Just so we don't get screwed out of Wembanyama or something.
Right, Tyler Smith, only 3 first.
Yeah. I just don't trust Cronin. And it's like DeJounte Murray got traded for, 3 firsts last year? Or was it 4 firsts?
I think it was 3. Yeah, 3.
3 firsts. I think OG Anunoby would have more teams interested in him than DeJounte Murray did. Drew Holiday to the Bucks got 3 firsts and 2 pick swaps. And yeah, Holiday's was, at least back then, better than OG Anunoby is now. But it's just such a buyer's market. It's hard to predict what it's going to take for certain guys to get traded. Because here's the thing, the Raptors also don't have to trade him. So the Raptors not only can just start a bidding war with probably 10 teams, but they also can sit there and like, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to pay the price and outbid these other teams to the point where we want to do it, we're just not going to trade them. So if we found our way into OG Anunoby, I feel like we'd give up a ton. So that's the problem, is you can sit here and say...
That's why I'm out.
Yeah. But basically my whole point is you can sit here and say, wow, we just do a trade with Toronto. They got all these forwards and they haven't been good this year. Well, what's it going to cost? What's the trade going to be? If you think about it, it's probably going to be a lot. It's probably going to be too much. That's the thing, is there's so many factors that go into trades. It's not as simple as like, oh, well, look at them. They got too many forwards. Let's go trade with them and get one of their forwards. Well, there's a bunch of factors in that. So that's the thing. And Vegas says, nah, OG wants out. Here's the thing. Even if he wants out, that's not going to drive down his trade value, because there's a certain point with a prospect, Eric. Let me know if you disagree or agree with this. There's a certain point where a prospect is so heavily wanted by the rest of the league that them potentially wanting out, or stuff that would go against the team that player's on as leverage, doesn't really apply anymore because of how heavily wanted they are by the rest of the league, that it just becomes a bidding war. And there's enough interest where the team trading that player still has the leverage in negotiations, despite a potential issue in the trade of like their player wanting out or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The thing where I'll push back a little bit is I think when you're talking about a player like OG, I think there's a limit to what teams are willing to bid in that bidding war. So I don't think it's a case where he's just going to go to whatever team's the highest bidder and every team will go over the top on the other team's offer to get said player. Like if maybe Siakam was available or something, they might do, or like we saw with like Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and stuff like that. So
it just raises the likelihood and the leverage ability of the team trading him, though.
Yeah, to me, I don't think it matters as much that there be a bidding war, and that I don't think him wanting out matters that much, other than because the Raptors still don't have to trade him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can maybe make the case that this summer he's an expiring, like as right now it's a year and a half. So maybe it's similar to the Jeremy Grant situation a little bit, where he starts telling teams he's not going to re-sign with you and he's gone after a year, and he kind of then leverages away to whatever team he wants to go to. But I think if anything, the thing about him wanting out, if it's true, I don't even necessarily believe it's true, but the rumor is he wants more like offensive responsibility and touches. Mm-hmm. So like, why would he want to come to Portland where we have Grant, Ant, and Dame already, and he's going to get similar amount of touches to what he's getting right now? So
yeah, I mean, that's a problem, and that's the reason to maybe be out on that. It's just like, that's the thing. The more teams you have involved, the more likely there's a chance that one or two of the teams say, "Screw it. We just really want this guy, so we're willing to overpay because we want to win right now, and this is what we got to do to win right now."
Yeah.
So, and when you bring in like two teams that are supposedly interested in him in New York, which has 4 extra firsts on top of all of their own, so they have a bunch of picks to throw out there. They got 3 first-round picks for Ousmane Dieng in this past year's draft. The pick that became Ousmane Dieng.
They gave a couple of those up to get the 13th pick, though.
I know. I'm just saying, like, Ousmane Dieng fetched 3
they got
firsts.
2025. Yeah.
Like, OKC traded 3 firsts in order to draft Ousmane Dieng. So, which is just crazy to think about, but that's the thing.
I mean, they were all, like, not... Some of them might not even be first, though.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
mean, there's
Detroit's lottery protected first, and
but that's my thing where
like second round picks eventually.
Yeah, that's my thing where it's like if it's protected first, you could see OG go for 4. Whereas if they're unprotected, you won't see 4 unprotected first. That's the thing. The protection sway. But my whole thing is like when you got New York involved and they got 4 extra firsts on top of all of their own, and then supposedly OKC wants him, and we know they have 1 million firsts.
Yeah.
And if those teams really want to, kind of make a push this year, because OKC's been actually solid this year, then all of a sudden it's like that price is going to get bumped up, and that's leverage for Toronto.
I just think there's going to be a point with OG where, like, no team's willing to up their offer for, like, they're going to have three either really good first or maybe 4 if it's the crappy first. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say this is the most we're willing to go. I don't care if another team overbids us, and I don't think there would be another team. So ultimately it'll come down to Toronto whether or not they want to trade him for 3 firsts, and then maybe they get those 3 unprotected in the bidding war instead of that. But I think when you're talking about a player like OG, who's like probably one of, if not the best, like role player in the NBA, not like a star player. I just think there's a limit to how much teams are willing to give up versus, some stars that became, like say Zach LaVine became available. I think the Knicks would give up like 4 or 5 firsts possibly, even though that's crazy with, how he's having a down year. Yeah. So I don't think the bidding war is going to get that crazy. I think it's just whether or not a team asks or meets their asking price currently, and I don't think any player is or any team is willing to do that as of now. But yeah, who knows if that'll be different in 12 days.
The line gets harder to predict the more teams.
Yeah,
the more teams there are. Yep. But that's the thing in regards to like what you said about Josh Hart. It seems like I don't know. Wouldn't you think it would be the same way with Hart too? Just teams would have the price they'd be willing to give up for him, and it's I don't know. Hello, you freezing? Okay, you're good. You froze for a second.
You cut out, yeah.
Wouldn't it be the same with Josh Hart, where teams just have their price? Or is there a difference because of maybe the caliber of player, or because it would take less, maybe teams are a little bit more willing to overpay with 2 seconds, whereas 4 is just a ton to give up?
Well, if it's 2 seconds, it's not going to be...
Or 2 firsts, I mean, 2 firsts.
I mean, if it's 2 firsts, it's not going to be like... I mean, we're talking about like the Dallas pick and like the Washington lottery protected pick or something, like it's
a little
not
easier to
be...
pick and choose.
So it won't be as good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's definitely a cap. I mean, I would be shocked if he actually did get 2 firsts back. But like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But I don't know if Portland's necessarily going for that type of value versus players back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I don't know. I think Hart does have a ceiling, but I don't think, because I mean, they're not going to give up 3 firsts and or whatever for him. Like, we're talking 2, like, as an absolute max for him and expiring. But yeah.
All I know is that when it comes to roster moves with the Portland Trailblazers, it's always the best to think like the devil's advocate. And the thing is, at last year's trade deadline, in regards to that Clippers trade, Eric, the devil's advocate needed a devil's advocate to him, who needed a devil's advocate to him. You needed 3 devil's advocates in order to predict what the hell. Yeah. Crappy trade. So that's the thing, is like, I will continue to raise questions even if it's not something I have an opinion on, because I've always realized it's best to play devil's advocate in regards to the moves that this team makes, because like literally I think every single trade deadline we've been disappointed. I mean, we weren't disappointed with the Norm trade, but the other 2 trade deadlines we were disappointed. So
you're saying to expect what I've been saying, and that's either Grayson Allen or Will Barton for Josh Hart, and nothing else.
Yes, I mean, that would be worse than the Clippers trade last year. Maybe that would be real bad. Yeah, be scared, chat. Be scared. But also don't be pessimistic at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, just wait and see what happens. But also don't get your hopes up too much, because I just don't want you guys to be like drastically disappointed. I don't want you guys to like lose your sanity, okay? I'm trying to keep expectations low so that you guys don't lose your sanity. I'm trying to protect you guys. And I'm also trying to protect my own sanity and not get my hopes up too much, because if I had my hopes up, I might, I don't know, go off the rails.
Breaking news, Tori.
What's up?
Blazers report says, when I say Dame's clock is almost out, I mean it.
Blazers report is a freaking clown.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm just like, he's telling us that Dame's clock's almost out. So
what does that even mean? He's playing some of the best basketball of his career. What do you mean his clock is almost out? That's just trolling. I will troll you if you come in here trolling. That opinion is trolling, and I refuse to believe it's not. That's a clown opinion. It doesn't even make any sense. Dame's clock. Dame time is almost done, Eric. Also, we had somebody else come in and say Wallace said trade Nurkic, so Wallace has not been paying attention to the Portland Trailblazers the last 5 hours, whether it's either the game or this trade deadline stream where we're talking about what trades make sense and what trades don't. So, anyway, let me think, Donos. Slick Mode, $2 Dono says, do we have the assets to trade for Crowder? We'll probably take a first, and right now we don't have a first. If you get a first back via the trade templates that we talked about, maybe you could. I
could maybe see him being one of those extra pieces in a Hart trade.
Yeah, I don't want him though.
Yeah.
I don't even think he wants to be here.
Yeah.
So I don't.
He wants to be back in Miami.
Yes, exactly. So Miami, if they really want Crowder and they're willing to give up Caleb Martin, that is somebody I would like if we're going to trade Hart, because I think he can replace some of the things that Josh Hart does. As a guy that is a better scorer and can also handle and play make a little bit, and is cheaper. So Caleb Martin for Miami, if they really want Crowder, which I don't know if they do or not, but if they really want Crowder, they'd have to trade salary out to match him. Caleb Martin would be nice.
They pretty much have to trade like Martin and Dedmon in that situation. Unless they get a team to. Okay, here's the other thing. There we go. Duncan Robinson. Add him to the list of Grayson Allen and Will.
Oh God! He honestly, we would need a first just to take on his contract for nothing, because he is a negative contract.
Yeah.
At this point.
So would you do Duncan Robinson and 2 firsts then? I don't even know if Miami can trade 2 firsts.
I don't even think they do, but not 2 of their firsts, because their firsts, I don't know, are they even going to be that good? Like
later on, because
if it was 2 unprotected firsts, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't want that ugly contract on our books.
Okay, but I'll add one more. Davis Bertans. There we go.
Oh God! I was gonna say I don't want the Davis Bertans.
You said to play devil's advocate.
I know. No, you're doing a great job. I'm just thinking. I'm responding to the specific idea, and I am trying not to throw up in my mouth right now because both of those contracts are so disgusting. Like, oh God! At least Eric Bledsoe was only like $4 million guaranteed, this year, instead of us having to pay him $19 million. Because if he was fully guaranteed this year, he'd still be on the team. Like
we wouldn't have been able to sign Peyton then.
Yeah, and on top of other things, we'd still be in the tax even without signing Peyton. So,
okay, I gotta look this up.
Bertans and Duncan Robinson are terrible contracts. I don't want either guy. Although, if you squint hard enough, Cam Johnson's going to get paid $16-17 million, right? If you squint hard enough, like practically close your eyes, Davis Bertans could look like him.
No.
As a player. Stretch 4. I wouldn't be pissed if we got Crowder as long as the other part of the trade was fine. And if he wanted to be here, and if we brought him off the bench. But I don't think he'd want to be here if he came off the bench. And starting him, I don't think he's a better perimeter defender against guards than Josh Hart is. I want us to have a starting 3 that Chauncey's like, oh, you know what? He does a really good job guarding guards. Maybe we should just have Jeremy Grant help around the rim, and we can play this guy against guards. Like if he had OG Anunoby. Because otherwise I don't think he's going to change, and it drives me crazy. So Crowder, I think, would be like Grant on guards, and it's just gross.
Miami really traded man.
Yeah, they don't got picks, Eric.
No, they can trade this year's pick.
Yeah, it's like the only pick they can trade, I think.
Okay, they can't trade a 2026. No, they could trade
like a 2029.
They can trade either 2028 or 2029 and 2023. So technically, they could give us a 2023 first, which, let's see, Tankathon. Where are they right now? They are 22nd. So we're talking about the 22nd pick roughly and a 2028 first.
With Duncan Robinson.
With Duncan Robinson.
For what, like Hart and Winslow?
Well, I don't know. They want Winslow back, but yeah, something like that.
I mean, if they're getting rid of Duncan Robinson, they'll probably take him back.
I think we'd have to go in the tax. So sick.
Imagine we go in the tax to pay Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson.
He fixes our shoot. I can see Cronin like, we got 2 firsts that we could use to build the team, and Duncan Robinson gives us the bench 3-point shooter we need.
What are we talking about? We're playing devil's advocate, right? We're getting seconds, not first.
No, I mean, well, now you're playing the devil's advocate to the devil's advocate.
Now you're devil. Like the Clippers trade, right?
Yeah. Now we're getting pretty dang close. Now we're at the Clippers trade.
Hart for Duncan Robinson. We go into the tax for Duncan Robinson. And we only get like a couple seconds back, and we say like Duncan Robinson is good enough to have first round pick value, so it was like getting the first round pick.
No, who's like the most random young guy on their team?
Well, they do have Jovic, so that would be actually not
Well, I really like Jovic, so I like Jovic a lot more than I like Keon. Oh yeah, Omer Yurt 7 is a first round value or some crap somehow.
I mean, Duncan Robinson would get a lot of open looks here.
Yeah, we think our system can rehabilitate his career. Yeah.
His contact so bad.
We think he's a great fit for Chauncey's offensive system where guys stand around and then shoot threes.
I mean, like, I don't know. It wouldn't be bad to have Duncan Robinson. It's just like his contract and stuff. Like, but I mean, we do need a shooter. But you can find shooters. He's not even
a great shooter anymore. He's fallen off.
Like, I would rather get re-sign Ben McLemore than have his contract on.
This is his 3-point percentage the last 4 years. Okay, the last 4 years, starting 4 years ago, 45%, 41%. 37%, 33%. He's going down by 4% a year. So, I mean, this year in 18 minutes a game, he's shooting 5 threes a game.
He's jacking up 5 threes in 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's like here for assignments at half the time.
Yeah, but doesn't do anything off the dribble. And doesn't he get pretty quality looks there, especially if he's shooting 33% on him? You got Jimmy passing to him. Bam. Yeah, so basically, how many years does he have left on his contract?
He just signed a 5-year deal. I think this is the second year of it.
Is there a team option at the end?
3 years left.
Is there not? There's not even a team option at the end, is there? Who's his agent? Because his agent is a freaking legend. Oh, it says right here, Jason Glushon, number 10. I don't know why he has a number as an agent. Maybe that's his rank in terms of clients. He should be number 1.
Well, wasn't there like another team that was? He was. I mean,
he was really good like 4 years ago. I don't know what happened. But basically, so he has 4 years left on his contract, right, Eric? So at the end of his current contract, he'll be shooting 21% from 3. We'll be paying a 3-point specialist to shoot 21% from 3 on 5 attempts in 18 minutes at $20 million a year.
So the last year is only partially guaranteed, but it's almost $10 million to get out of his contract to not pay him $20 million.
The 3-point specialist shooting 21% from 3 at that point at the rate he's going down.
He goes up to 18.15 next year, then 19.4 the year after that, and then 19.9 in 25-26.
Okay, I just came up with a theory in like 3 seconds, so I don't know how good of a theory it is, but I'm just gonna say it. I feel like there's certain guys that have to get up so many shots a day to be as elite of 3-point shooters as they are, and then they get big contracts and they stop putting up that many shots a day, and they're no longer special 3-point shooters. Because this is exactly what happened to Davis Bertans. He was like a 3-point specialist. And then he got paid, and his shot completely fell off, and now he's a terrible contract. It's kind of bounced back, but he was like 43%, and then got paid 40.
We left him open.
What's up?
We left him open. Bertans.
Yeah, but he shot 33% from 3 last year. He's bounced back a little bit, but he's playing 10 minutes a game.
I think it's just there's certain players like those two that are so limited on what they can do other than 3-point shooting, so it's easy to like game plan for them once they're found out. But like early in their career, you still kind of think you can do things. But yeah,
Bertans shot in 4 of his first 5 years was 39% or higher.
Yeah.
So teams kind of figured him out. He still shot threes well. I don't know. I just wonder if like guys like that stop putting up as many shots when they get paid because they got paid.
I don't know. Gary Payton's a sniper now, so
he wasn't a 3-point specialist. He always worked on defense, which is even harder to work on. He got paid and was like, I'm going to start just practicing threes now. I don't know. It's just a theory. Maybe. So Cam Johnson, he's going to get paid this offseason. Then 3 years from now, he's going to be shooting like 32% from three. No, Cam Johnson's way better than both those guys ever were. But
that didn't. Yeah, Joe Harris fell off too.
Yeah, he was kind of injured though. But yes,
injury.
He got paid.
Yeah.
All these guys got paid like between $16 and $18 million too.
I think it was still the first year of Joe Harris's contract. Maybe it wasn't. But
did he fall off?
There was a year his
3-point shooting didn't fall
off. There was a year he led the league in 3-point shooting. I don't remember if that was the last year of his contract or the first year of his contract.
There's actually 2 years. In 2018-2019, 47.4%, and then 2020-2021, 47.5%. Last year he was still at 47%, and then this year he's at 40%.
He couldn't make a three in the playoffs.
Yeah. That was like the moment being too much for him or something. Yeah, I remember that. That's what it was, is he was broke as hell in the playoffs. It's so random.
Yeah, I think it's like shooting's kind of like, I mean, not quite as bad for centers, but like, unless you like can do multiple other things, I don't like paying, like, I don't know. I feel like you can find shooters for cheaper.
Yeah. Anyway, let me think the last couple of donuts. Shout out Brian Tadovich, $2 donut. So a new coach would fix most of this. Not necessarily, just the matchups, hopefully. Thank you, Brian. And then shout out Rip City 208, $5 donut. There's a lot of blame going around from ownership to Nurk to Billups to Ant, when in reality, maybe it's a little bit of all of the above. I don't think it's necessarily due to Nurkic or Ant. Sure, they have their weaknesses, which if they didn't have those weaknesses, the team would be better, but every player has their weaknesses. I think tonight was a perfect showcase of what not to do, and all the little things that Nurkic provides that we were missing tonight. The little things mostly being defensive positioning, which is, I think, in my opinion, Eric, the most important thing as a center is being able to be in the right position. But it's harder to notice. Fans, it's a lot easier to notice somebody flying across because they're late to position and have to hustle their ass off to make up ground to have a chance at stopping a play, but, they get a sick block out of it. Look how fast they covered ground. Right? And then they block it out of bounds, and it's the other team's ball. And they think that's great defense, and that stands out to them. But the type of center that's to the spot early and forces a miss and then just grabs the rebound casually, doesn't even look like he's trying, that guy's the lazy guy. That doesn't protect the rim the same way. Doesn't have as much energy, quote unquote. Like, that's the difference between Eubanks and Nurkic for me. And Eubanks was out of position all game today. So I don't think Nurkic is as much of a problem. The only thing that you could say is a big problem is his, like, how he finishes around the rim. He has gotten better, but the rest of the league has gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still having the most efficient year of his career.
He still has, at times, turnover problems, too.
Yeah. But, like, is that what's wrong with the team? No. He sets great screens, makes the right pass more often than not. He'll get sloppy at times, but so does the rest of the team. The great screens is another little thing that I think was missing tonight. So anyway. Anything else?
No, I guess we're not listening to Chauncey. It's late, yeah.
Yeah, you guys can listen to him. I'll tweet about his press conference if I find anything egregious, okay? We got stuck on trades and we're almost 3 hours in, Eric.
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel like it's been 2 hours yet, and it's been 3, so. Aiden, I'd give him a C.
Yeah. C minus D plus for me right now. I think the jury's still very much out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, couple things to plug at the end of this thing. Our newest set of watch party tickets is live. Our next watch party is the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday on February 13th. So, trade deadline stream February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday, February 12th, and then that on February 13th. our watch party. It will be Blazers versus Lakers at the same venue, so hopefully you can make it out. I will post a link on Twitter, on the Blazers Uprise Twitter after this, because I need to plug that out, send that out. It's in 2 weeks from now, or a little bit more than 2 weeks from now. So if you want tickets, I'll have a link on Twitter, and I'll also have a link on our Discord. And then we have 2 streams on Monday, Blazers Uprise Live and Postgame stream. Blazers Uprise Live is on our second channel, link in the description box below. I will have the link in those descriptions. I don't remember the link off the top of my head, so...
and of course, if any trades happen, we will involving the Blazers, we will go live.
Yep, that as well. And then I'm dropping videos, trade deadline previews for specific teams on NBA Uprise. The next one's going to be the Pacers, talking about the Miles Turner contract extension and all that. And that's on our NBA channel. So go subscribe to that. There is a link for that in the description box below. The watch party tickets are there. Okay, cool. The watch party tickets are in the description box below. The NBA Uprise channel's in the description box below. Blazers Uprise Live's in the description box below. Our Twitters are in the description box below. And Discord. You can join our Discord as well. So that's plugging everything, I think. Anything else, Eric?
No, I think that covers it. Cool. Yes, even if it's just a Greg Brown salary dump, I will at least stream for you.
Do you have the login for this channel? Because if they dump his salary at like 7 in the morning, I don't even want to wake up for that.
Don't wake up. Don't wake you up. Okay.
Yeah. If it's more than that, then yes. But if it's only a Greg Brown salary dump, then nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm plugging all the links in the chat. What'd you say?
I don't know if I'm just lagging or if it's
I was gonna say,
the stream.
No, I don't think we are. No, we're fine. It's just you. Which means your computer's trying to get you to sign off here. So.
Yeah, correct. There was I think Tori has corrected the issue with his phone, but that way I can still contact him, but he won't get notified from anyone else. But yeah, I couldn't get a hold of him for the Larry Nance trade, and I did one on my own account because I couldn't log into the Blazers.
Well, I thought it was the Clippers trade.
No, but it was both. Yeah,
it was both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't want to wake up for the Clippers trade.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wake up for that. I just wanted to sleep for like a month after that.
Yeah.
So
you did wake up for the CJ one on Monday. The following Monday.
Yeah. They always do trades so early, man. Anyway, sometimes stuff goes down in the evenings for other teams, and I'm like, that would be nice, but we always got to do our stuff in the mornings. Anyway, yeah, that's a wrap. Monday.
Thanks everyone for watching.
We'll take
See you Monday.
Hawks. We'll see if Hart and Nurk are back for that game because we need them back for that game.
They held them out for trades, though, Tori.
Yeah, a lot of people asked me that, and I don't think that was true. In case anybody's
we saw Hart come up flame and holding his hamstring last game. So
yep. Anyway, we'll catch you guys later. Have a good Sunday. Go Niners! By the way, tomorrow. Go Niners. I just fingers crossed, and I will be tweeting about that game tomorrow. So if you want to see entertainment, whether it's for our sake or against our sake, Eric, follow us on Twitter. This stream has been, or what you got?
I have to work during the game.
That sucks.
I will be watching. I already told the person I'm working with to not expect me to help them at all tomorrow.
Because you're watching the Niners.
And yeah, but I can't. I get pretty animated, well, especially with how much is on the line in this game. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of keep my emotions down while watching at least the first half. So yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Zach is an Eagles fan, so
he's an enemy. He's an enemy right now. Anyway, AJ, I want your guys' thoughts on the Trail episode 4. Maybe next stream. Yeah, not in the middle of our sign off. I haven't even watched it, AJ. I'll watch it before the next stream, or I'll try to.
AJ did tell me
my keys just
that they do talk about like coaching dynamics and what all the assistants do and what their roles are and stuff. So that could be interesting to watch.
Who decides the defensive matchups? That's what I want to know. Maybe we should be yelling at Scott Brooks instead. Anyway, that's
Roy Rogers does the defense, right?
Oh, well, yeah, we should be yelling at Roy Rogers.
Well, Chauncey allows him to do it.
Yeah, and Chauncey, and we should just be yelling in general, because screw being under 500. Anyway, that's a wrap for this stream, presented by BetOnline. We'll catch you Monday, 2 streams. Blazers Uprise Live, we'll have more trade talk by then. If any trade rumors come out, we will talk about them then. And then the postgame show Monday night, I'll drop content between now and then on NBA Uprise, and maybe a Blazer video if I get around to it. We'll see. That's a wrap. We're out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!